This story begins in the heart of the Ares Empire on a normal weekday. Everything around seems quite calm. People are enjoying life and the beautiful weather. The security is satisfied that the revolutionaries have been hiding in the shadows for now. They have caused a lot of problems lately. Maybe they realized that their rebellion was pointless, and maybe the Imperial Knights destroyed every revolutionary. In fact, at this moment, a very serious conversation was taking place in the dungeon between these same revolutionaries. Their plan is incredibly simple. Tonight they will kill the Emperor and destroy the Empire. This is the only way to restore the kingdom. Logan McLean must fulfill an important task, to protect the manuscript at all costs. Many people sacrifice themselves to obtain and protect the manuscript from the Empire. As soon as Logan gets this manuscript in his hands, he will immediately be hunted by the Knights of the Empire. He will be obliged to risk his own life in order to fulfill his duty. In fact, his motivation is not patriotism at all. He lives for revenge. Before, many years ago, Logan was a very weak person. He lost to his younger brother, Ronan. This is strange because his younger brother only started training with the sword 3 years ago. Logan, on the other hand, has been actively training for 10 years to become a knight. It is surprising that this stupid and weak boy turned out to be an older brother. The future of the McLean family is quite bleak. A little later, Logan poisoned his younger brother with a paralyzing poison. The father was incredibly angry and ordered his eldest son to get away from here. Logan suffered from feelings of inferiority and hurt his younger brother. For this sin, he was expelled from the family. After leaving home, he decided to become a mercenary. Only after 10 years of hard work, he realized what a terrible person he was before. A little later, returning to the city, he heard strange conversations in the streets. Rumor has it that Ronan McLean will be publicly hanged in the square this afternoon. He used auras and fought against the Empire on the front lines. Logan immediately started to hurry. He has to tell his younger brother something so he can't die. Logan was in a hurry. He ran to the central square at top speed, but he didn't make it. His younger brother was beheaded. That's what happens when you rebel against the Empire. With tears in his eyes, Logan vowed to take revenge on the Empire for killing his family and for taking away his chance to ask for forgiveness. Many years have passed. This red-haired boy holds a sacred manuscript in his hands. Now the Knights will do everything to stop him. They know how important this manuscript is to the Empire, so they will act hard and fast. Logan felt that he had reached a dead end. He had nowhere to run, so he had to fight. During all these years of working as a mercenary, his martial arts skills reached a new level. Now he is not as weak as he was before. He is really a strong and powerful warrior. When he was killing the Knights of the Empire, it was obvious that he was enjoying the process. Soon he was completely surrounded. There are too many Knights. Logan will not be able to escape. Realizing that he was destined to die right now, he accepted his fate. So if he dies, die beautifully. He activated a mysterious artifact and blew himself up along with the Knights of the Empire. His life was filled with regret. He existed for revenge, so at least he got his revenge. Although, of course, he cannot even forget his greatest pain after his death, because he never asked for forgiveness from his family. Fortunately, if he manages to meet his family in the next life, he will be able to apologize to them. Finally, he saw a flash of light in his eyes, and then he was back in the real world. He could not understand what had happened. His head hurts very much. It seems as if he is not dead. The servant Rick came to him. This is a young guy who wants to make sure that his master is alive. The problem is that Rick died 30 years ago, and Logan remembers it perfectly from his past life. He started asking this guy questions, and he decided that his master had lost his mind. Because of this, Rick began to actively call a doctor. He is too concerned about the health of his master. Looking out the window, Logan saw many emblems of his house. It seemed like it was all just a dream. At that moment, the younger Ronan brother entered his room. He wants to make sure that everything is fine with Logan. Our main character remembers this moment very well. It happened after their first duel. He lost to his brother, and after he came to him, Logan started yelling at his brother and blaming him for all the problems. Strangely enough, this little boy never paid attention to all the insults and continued to follow his older brother everywhere. So it was until that day, after all these insults, he stopped coming. Now the story has to change, Logan asked the Ronin to come to him. The younger brother apologized and said that he should have been more careful. Logan replied that all these are just little things. A brotherly duel is just a formality to improve skills. There is nothing wrong with it. After that, Logan could not stand it and began to cry. Memories from his past life make his heart suffer. Well, it's hard to watch and understand that such a kind and pleasant boy was taken away in the future. He fought on the front lines under the orders of the kingdom and died, so now is the perfect time to ask for forgiveness. Logan said that he was very guilty before him, and after that, he hugged his brother. They agreed to meet a little later, and their relationship had never been at such a good level. Now that Logan was alone in the room, he realized that this was not like a dream. He really returned to the past, which means that he is obliged to change history. Maria entered the room and immediately apologized to her master. Logan completely forgot that he had treated his servants very badly before, so they apologized to him even for the smallest things. He asked them to calm down and bring him pen and paper immediately. Rick and Maria were scared. They thought that Logan wanted to do something very bad to them with pen and paper. They had to be calmed down, and after a while the request was fulfilled. Logan asked everyone to leave his room. Now he needs to show patience and change his attitude towards the immediate environment. He wants to start by writing down everything that will happen in the future so that he does not forget about it. A war against the Empire in 10 years, disasters that will destroy not only his family, but the entire nation. His goal is very simple. He must change history and avoid all these problems. To begin with, one should pay attention to the War of Vassals, which will happen in a year. It will be unexpected and will partially destroy his family. After that, dark times will begin for the McLean family, so everything must be done to prevent this war from happening. It is obvious that for this you need to meet the father. He also plays an important role in this story. In a past life, the father refused his eldest son. A repetition of this plot cannot be allowed. Then quite funny things began to happen. As soon as the servant saw the eldest son of the family, she was immediately frightened. Everyone began to worry and not know how to behave. It seems that before Logan really behaved very badly with them. He got a chance for a second life, so he has no right to repeat his mistakes. It's time to change. He asked to calm down and not to be afraid of him, although his face said something completely different. Because of this, they feared him even more. The sudden changes in his character seem strange. It takes more time for everyone around him to get used to it. He will have to wait and continue to show everyone else that he has changed. Well, of course, he should show his smile less, because it does not look like the smile of a good person at all. The time has come to meet his father in his past life. Logan resented him after his father kicked him out of the family. He considered him a cold-blooded person who did not believe his son, a cruel father who heartlessly expelled his own child. Logan didn't even come to him after he passed out from his injury during the official duel. This guy was too stupid in his past life, but now he has to change. Patrick McLean looked stern. He wanted to understand why his eldest son had come. Of course, Logan would like them to hug each other. But for his father, the story goes in a completely different direction. Logan explained that he had come to ask permission to do some personal training near the family cemetery. In order to win the regional war, you need to improve your qualities, make your knights stronger, and strengthen their equipment. In order to do all this, a lot of money is needed. So now it is necessary to focus on this. In the Heirs Empire, his McLean family is known as a family of poor people. They have almost no free money. Logan knows how to change this. Thanks to an event that will happen in 3 months, he will be able to earn a lot of money. To do this, you need to improve your martial arts skills and get the right to vote. After defeating his younger brother, Logan does not want to run away. He said that he has drawn conclusions and is ready to get better. The father was not going to believe his son's words. He has known for a long time that Logan has problems with discipline. His eldest son only talks a lot but does little, so he better go. All this time, instead of admitting his weaknesses, Logan showed aggression towards others. He was too stupid. Now he apologizes and explains that this training can help him get his emotions under control. This time his words look much more serious, so the father decided to give him a chance. After a small conversation, Patrick gave permission to his son to train. This is already minimal, but a victory. Several days passed after this conversation. Logan tried not to waste time at all. Only immediate family members are allowed in the entire place, so no one interferes with training. This gives Logan the perfect opportunity. Plus, he can't let others see his training methods. He took with him a book with the secrets of the divine sword. In his past life, he memorized and burned this manuscript so that the Empire would not get it. In the middle of this book were the secrets that were given by a hero of ancient times. This hero defeated the dragon that ruled the world. Logan was able to encrypt this book using the secret code of the Independent Army so that no one could read it. If the book is not lying, then after studying it, the boy will become incredibly powerful. In his past life, he had little talent, and this prevented him from becoming a great warrior. The life force that changes the body is called force. It is the basis of the secrets of the divine sword. After returning to this world, it seems to him that his life force works completely differently. It seems to him that a few days will be enough to form the inner energy core, but it turned out to be even easier than he expected. After how many minutes, his inner energy core was formed. It was difficult to even dream of such a result while the core was forming. A powerful energy was formed inside it, which was absorbed by his body. Now his power must reach a completely different level and make him a legendary warrior. His body and senses completely changed. They adjusted to the necessity of mastering the sword. Logan cannot understand why the core of power formed so quickly. At this rate, he will become very strong in just a few months. Training continued both day and night. Logan hardly rested at all and approached the last day of training. Of the 10 sword techniques recorded in the manuscript, he learned almost all of them. It remains to master the temporal section. With the single core of 1 star, he will be able to do this. The result was really impressive. All this time spent on training was worth it. All this power is greater than his expectations. It is obvious that an ordinary novice cannot master this technique so quickly. Although he spent all his strength after the first blow, it is not bad to have such an ace up his sleeve. Logan went to his father to tell him about his results, but he was told that Patrick McLean did not want to see him now. According to family law, even direct relatives cannot meet with the owner without prior notice. This law has been in place for several hundred years, although it is strange, because in the past life this did not happen. With the help of his new skills, John began to hear much better. All his characteristics improved. He heard the knights laughing at him and discussing the situation. They consider him a weakling who ran away after defeating his own younger brother. His reputation is at an all-time low now. Even the knights mock him. He planned to show off his changes and step by step to change his reputation, but he would have to act more aggressively. He turned to a knight named Dominion and said that one cannot obey laws that have long been obsolete. The knights around were surprised. They did not expect such a turn of the plot. Logan also said that he was offended by such approval of the knights, and he would not allow unfair insults. That was why he took out his gloves and threw them at the Dominion's face. This is how in ancient times they challenged their opponent to a duel. So a battle awaits us. This behavior greatly offended the knight. He has no choice but to accept the duel. It's time to look at the progress that Logan was able to achieve during all these months of training. Soon they took up arms and prepared for battle. The knights around were sure that the young heir of the family would lose, because he lost even to his younger brother. No one believes in his victory, because opposite him stands a real King Kong in armor. Nevertheless, John looks calm and self-confident. He knows that he has become much stronger than in his previous life. The duel has officially begun. Now we can see which of these two is the strongest. Dominion is not going to feel sorry for the opponent. He was offended and he wants revenge. Logan immediately began to analyze his opponent. He will not be afraid of all these cheap tricks. The boy sees that Dominion does not manage his strength and energy well. He does not know how to control himself. Logan said that this knight's best years were behind him, and this made him even more angry. Time passes very quickly. The juniors are increasing their ranks, and the Dominion at the age of 40 was the weakest in the order of knights and planned to retire. Usually he just went about his business in anticipation of retirement, but as soon as he heard that his best years were behind him, his inner fire immediately ignited with new power. Logan's servants were frightened. They believed that now there would not even be a wet spot left by their master. Dominion decided to retire a long time ago, so he has nothing to lose and can show everything he is capable of. Logan decided to use the big triple kill technique. This helped stop the enemy attack. Dominion immediately felt incredible pain in every part of his body. He fell to the ground and dropped his sword, giving the impression that he was an experienced knight capable of anything. The spectators of this battle were shocked. No one could believe that they were seeing it with their own eyes. Not only the knights were surprised, the servants also watched this battle and could not believe their eyes. Due to the fact that everything happened incredibly quickly, some did not even have time to see the blow of the eldest heir of the family. Logan looked at the duel judge and said that he was ready to give the Dominion a second chance. This knight still couldn't understand what had happened to him at all. His eyes were full of tears and his hands were shaking as if he had seen a nightmare. It is hard for him to believe that he really turned out to be weaker than this slug. He should have retired earlier. Understanding this situation made him even more angry. He does not want to accept this shameful defeat. Dominion swung and tried to strike back, but again Logan got the better of him. His reflexes, speed, and strength increased several times as he reached a new level as a warrior. Dominion wanted to admit defeat, but he had to be reprimanded for his insolent behavior. Logan had shown enough mercy to a vassal who tried to rebel against his master, so now it was time to be more brutal. Everyone around must understand that times have changed, and Logan is no longer a weak boy to be beaten. It was hard to watch. Not long ago, Logan had lost to his younger brother, but now he easily defeated an experienced knight. It is hard to believe that in 3 months it is possible to change one's skills so much. Not only had he awakened his power, but he had also completely changed his sword technique, as if he had been training for several decades. The court had no other choice but to officially recognize that Logan McLean won the duel. After that, it was finally time to meet his father. He realized that his son had woken up. It must have happened during training. Logan said that he was cured of his problems and ready to forget about the past. He worked a lot with his thinking and emotions. In his past life, everything was about the same. Only after refusing to take revenge on his family, he found true strength. The father is satisfied that his son has really changed. He has finally come to an awareness of life. Everything is fine. But Patrick McLean is unhappy that after his son woke up, he immediately attacked the pensioner. Logan tried to explain that this knight deserved to be punished. He behaved too arrogantly towards him. All this is exactly so, but the father is sure that it was not necessary to go so far. Logan has a different opinion, that Knight tried to deceive his master's son and taunted him. If such behavior is not punished, then discipline in the house can be undermined. Hierarchy is a trunk that allows the entire structure to function. It cannot be given the opportunity to sway, because the balance will be disturbed. During 10 years of life as a mercenary, Logan realized that discipline is very important in any community. Today's situation will be a lesson for all other knights. The Dominion was wrong. He forgot his duties and tried to deceive Logan. The father forgave his son, but nevertheless told him to keep himself under control. Patrick McLean also reminded that Logan still did not receive an official rank. After that, the conversation changed its direction. The father reminded that Logan's bride would soon come to them. Finally, they will see each other again. His chance to earn money is already coming to him. Soon, Rena Wolves finally arrived at her groom's place and was immediately met by the knights of the court. It is immediately noticeable that this girl is incredibly beautiful. Probably in those days she was a real superstar. They had not seen Lord McLean for a long time, during which time she had become a real lady. The last time she was in this house was when she was a child. Now she has changed a lot. It seemed that everyone was happy, but only Logan did not look like a guy who was happy to meet this girl. He should have been happier than everyone else because this was his bride-to-be, but Logan remained calm and showed no emotion. Rena read the letter from her father. She said that he is asking to cancel the engagement. Her father, Kieran Wolves, believed that Patrick McLean would become an aura user again, but he has been at the level of a high-ranking knight for 20 years. To be fair, his eldest son is also too weak, so there's no point in teaming up with them. That is why it was decided to break off the engagement, and this news made the Lord very angry. Lord Wolves breaks the engagement without adequate reason. It means that he wants to personally offend Lord McLean and his family. Rena guessed that this is how the Lord would take this news, which is why she personally came to resolve any misunderstanding. Memories of how she lived in this place for a whole year as a child still occupy an important place in her memory. The moments created with the young Master Logan in this beautiful and pleasant place. She will not give up these memories for anything. In any case, Rena is connected to her family and therefore must follow her instructions. She thinks that it would be better for her to personally apologize to Lord and Logan. At that moment, Marion Kairos came out of her room and said that she wanted to hear about all these circumstances in person. Marion is Logan's stepmother and Ronan's biological mother. She has long considered Logan her enemy due to inheritance issues. It seemed to him that she would not interfere in this situation, but the honor of the family is a completely different matter. Rena apologized, but said that she could not say anything because she did not know the real reason for this situation. With tears in her eyes, she said that she was destined to get married and become part of another family. Her father does not discuss important decisions with her. Therefore, she came to tell about the cancellation of the engagement and not to name the real reason for this decision. The young lady replied that her family was ready to pay 3 million gold coins as compensation. As soon as the head of finances of the McLean house, Dwayne Fielsner, heard about this amount, he almost lost consciousness. Logan knew that this would happen. He calmly smiled, because he understood that finally there would be no problems with money. So it seemed until Lord McLean began to shout and show his incredible anger. His screams made everyone around feel sick, as if he had activated a deadly aura. The defender of the young lady immediately took a step forward to cover her body. His name is Rockfern. He is a warrior of the House of Wolves, and he asks Patrick McLean to calm down in order to calmly continue the conversation. Although they are of different ages, they are both high-ranking knights. Surely the injury of the young star of the House of Wolves will be a fair measure for the humiliation of the honor of the House of McLean. Lord McLean is called a man of honor, so the young knight hopes that Patrick will not offend Rin. Nevertheless, Lord McLean is still incredibly angry with Kieran Wolves, who instead of coming here in person, sent 2 children. A guest is a guest even when he brings bad news, so the McLean house will not insult them. However, the offer of money will not be accepted. Instead, Rena must apologize to Logan. Patrick will not accept any other compensation. Knights expected exactly this from their master. This is how we should be true aristocrats. Logan raised his hand and turned to his father. He is worried about the broken engagement and wants to ask for something. He reminded his father that they really need money. 3 million is the budget for next year, so it is a huge amount. Half of the money comes from the stepmother's family. As soon as it stops providing, the McLean family will become bankrupt. The father does not understand what he is doing, so they are obliged to get this money at any cost. Patrick does not know how to refuse his words. His son's proposal angered the Lord even more. Logan immediately felt incredible pressure. Even though his father has no aura, he is a high-ranking knight. Patrick declared that their house was not so poor as to give up honor for money. Logan continued the argument. He reminded that they have debts in the bank, and every year they have to pay interest, then 50,000 coins. Without the support of the Marion family, they will soon become bankrupt and a big house for the poor. Rena intervened in the conversation. She said that her family is smart, and they really respect the honor of the McLean family. Logan did not like this. She came to announce the break-off of the engagement, but continues to talk about intelligence. It all seems absurd. The girl was very upset after hearing these words from Logan. For her, it is personal. In a past life, he believed that Rena was sincerely upset because of the breakup of their relationship. Before all this happened officially, she informed him about it in a private conversation. Logan was very upset. His life was falling apart, and the decision to risk everything for the woman he loved seemed like the best option. He offered her to run away together, but at that very moment she took out a large knife from her pocket. After a few seconds, he saw how she threw this weapon at him with an attempt to kill. Only at the last moment did he manage to protect his life, although he still did not understand what was happening. Rena smiled and said that a guy like him can't own her. He should understand where his place is and take it away. She already knew that he lost to his younger brother. Maybe because of this, she decided to break off any relations with him. He tried to talk to her and understand what she was feeling. At that very moment, the girl started screaming. She did this in order for her bodyguard to come in. She immediately informed him that Logan was trying to kill her. She planned all this almost perfectly. Logan was guilty of many things and the family no longer trusted him. As a result, his family had to apologize to the wolves and pay a huge compensation. Logan could no longer trust women after that. He is sure this time she planned to make money from the whole situation. Her treachery knows no bounds. Now he is much more experienced than before, so she can't do anything. To begin with, Logan decided to change his reputation in the family. It seemed to him that if step by step he showed himself from a new side, then everything would change. One day his family will change their attitude towards him, and then his reputation will be restored. Such were his thoughts. But the battle with the Dominion made it clear that the guards turned a blind eye to the fact that he was shown disrespect. During his absence, even more rumors appeared. It is not known whether it is possible to influence his family by receiving recognition from similar people. The regional war is 9 months away, and now his reputation is very important because he has to save his family. He looked at Rin and said he was accepting her offer of compensation despite his family's wishes. Not only she was surprised, the father also did not believe his own ears. His son goes against the words of his father. Logan explained that he is not interested in empty apologies. If their honor is worth a couple of words that are created in the air, then he does not need such honor. Rena looked at the Lord and said that her family will only listen to Patrick McLean, so she wants to hear the final decision. She is saying this to save her father's reputation. She is probably feeling bad inside from thinking that she will have to pay $3 million. As a true Lord, Patrick thinks that an apology would be enough for him, but he allows his son to make the final decision. In the end, he warned Logan that if he sold his honor, he would always agree to this amount in the future. The boy apologized to his father, but he cannot give in, so he accepts the money as compensation. It was noticeable that Rena hoped for a completely different outcome of the negotiations, but today was her day. The father was very upset. He thought that his eldest son had changed, but today it turned out that he had changed for the worse. Patrick himself is to blame for not telling his son about the true value of honor. Patrick McLean does not understand that his son does this for the happiness of his family. Maybe one day he will understand all this. Soon the McLean family received money. It must be admitted that it is a huge amount. Dwayne, the head of the family's finances, entered Logan's room. This man manages the family's finances and is the Lord's closest entourage, so he came with a smile on his face for a reason. David understands that Dwayne has faced the biggest problems in his life. As the head of the family's finances, he had to cut the budget for the entire castle. Previously, he had to make up for the lack of money and beg others for help. If he was not a family member, he would have quit a long time ago. Now finally, he has a chance to improve the situation for a few years. His opponent is a young fool. Dwayne came to do everything possible to take the money for himself. He said that Logan is well done because he stood his ground. He said a lot of good things about Logan. Probably he thinks that his long tongue will help in this matter. Probably Dwayne does not understand that this young guy is not going to share money with anyone. The man immediately remembered the last 20 years of difficult life. All this time he managed the finances of the McLean family. They were constantly helped by the Quiros family, and if it weren't for them, the McLean family would have died of hunger long ago. Now the McLean family has a debt in the bank for $3 million, and we must not forget about the annual interest. Logan said that he had known about it all along, but reminded him that it was harvest time, so the family would be able to pay the interest. Logan said that he will spend all this money on his family and not on current debts. Dwayne could not believe that his plan could fail. He came for money, but so far nothing works. You can spend money to cover debts, but in the future the situation will not change, because they do not have any goods for sale. It is a closed circle. John wants to change this whole situation once and for all, so the money will go towards the implementation of the plan. This is no longer the bully Dwayne knew before. This child no longer cares about his family. Logan said that if Dwayne helps him, then he can share the money with him. It turned out that Logan wants to hire a large number of mercenaries. Logan soon ended this conversation and began to collect his things and weapons. Rick couldn't understand where the master was going again. He had only recently returned from training. Logan explained that it was time to start making money again, despite the recent earnings. Rick is sure that the Lord will be against this idea. Lately, the atmosphere in the estate is too tense. That's probably why Logan decided to go to someone who doesn't want to hear all these boring conversations. If you don't affect your reputation now, you won't be able to change, so you need to organize an army. Logan is very lucky because he knows what is happening there now. It was at this time that he was kicked out of the house in his past life. Logan left a message for his father, so no one would blame his servant for what happened. Perhaps it was only in theory, because when Lord McLean began to read the letter, his deadly aura was immediately activated. Logan wrote that the cancellation of the engagement broke his heart. He decided to leave the house for a while and return soon. Even 200 years ago, the McLean house was not in such a state as it is now. It was a huge area that blossomed inside and out. This area was respected by everyone around, even the master and ruler of the southern part of the Grandia kingdom. However, the ineffectual rule of 3 generations led to a lowering of the family's rank and reduced the controlled territories. Vast grain holdings, formerly part of the McLean family, were handed over to an experienced vassal and divided in the future. The place the McLeans found themselves was a harsh and dry land next to the southern mountains. There are no products and minerals there. In such conditions, even if you win a regional war, you still have to ask for help. In order to break this circle, much more money is needed than there is now. In the city of Kyle, there is a person who can give this money. If Logan is not mistaken, then this man lived all his youth in this city. He is called the Golden Beetle, and his real name is Philip Cloud. The Ares Empire is the most powerful nation on the continent, a powerful centralized power that operates through a system of achievements. Regardless of gender or age, a person who has talent will always have the opportunity to achieve success and enjoy power and wealth. Even foreigners have this right. Philip Claude from the Kingdom of Grandia is a great example. He uses his money and power to make Grandia an independent state. It's hard to believe, but this guy looks a little different now. His time hasn't come yet. Rumor has it that his business failed due to fraud, which is hard to even watch. Philip was upset and thought about dying. It seemed that all his dreams were destroyed at once. Logan greeted him. He finally found the one he was looking for, so now it was time to talk a little. In the eyes of Logan, Philip immediately saw what the businessman had to face many times. This is greed. Judging by the time in which he approached and the old armor on his body, Philip guessed that he was a mercenary. He started shouting and said that now is not the time to pay the debt. He will receive the money only in 3 days. Then he will be able to pay. Logan could not understand what was happening. He tried to explain that he did not come to collect money. Soon he explained that his real goal was investment, so he was misunderstood. It seems crazy, but Logan is really getting ready to invest in a man who recently lost everything. Philip was surprised. He wanted to understand how much money they could invest in him, and also tried to understand the motivation of this guy. If you look closely, you can see that the armor is quite dirty, so he came from afar. Logan thought he had almost agreed on everything and was satisfied with his acquaintance. At that moment, Philip called him a dirty rat. Logan thought that he heard it. Nevertheless, Philip spoke seriously. He will not let anyone deceive him. And now he understands that he is not an investor at all. The symbol on his armor indicates that he is a member of the southeastern barony of McLean. They are a poor family that asks for help from their relatives, so there can be no talk of any investment. Then Philip began to cry and say that he was completely bankrupt and that his life was almost worthless. Now you have to figure out how to calm this guy who is unsure of his own abilities. He doesn't even have money for food. Logan decided to activate his power and show that he has real talents. Maybe this will change the situation. It really worked. Philip apologized for his behavior and said that lately he has been reacting too sharply to various events. Logan said that he came to hire Philip for eternal service and as a bonus to pay off his loan. Philip thought that there was no such money in the McLean house, and it was at this moment that Logan took out a suitcase with money. He opened it and showed that he was speaking very seriously and was not going to deceive anyone. He prepared 550,000 gold coins for Philip and said that he was ready to pay everything at once. The boy, who will be called the Golden Beetle in the future, was shocked. It seemed that it was an angel who came down from heaven to save his life. Soon the contract was signed not only in ink, but also in blood, a common procedure in the past. Now, if Philip wants to do something bad to his master, he will feel his soul being torn apart. If this does not suit him, then he must awaken his power and become a high-ranking knight, or pay money to a sorcerer to remove the curse. After signing the contract, Philip did not look very happy. It seemed as if he had become a slave. Now he looks at Logan and does not see an angel in him, although in any case a member of the McLean family did something quite strange. With this money, he could have bought 30 slaves, but he chose to invest in a loser. It was because of this that he started a conversation with Philip and said that now he needed guarantees. When they get to know each other better, the contract can be terminated, because the most important thing is trust. It's strange they didn't discuss any terms, but they still shook hands. Philip decided to take a chance. To begin with, his first task will be to buy monster meat. There is poison in the monster's flesh, so it is burned. But after a few years, the situation will change when everyone learns that it is possible to neutralize the poison. In some areas with a shortage of food, they will start feeding on monster meat. And in a few months, the number of men who will cure all their male problems will increase. Even those who became infertile after the injury will see the effect. A year after that, the Imperial Magic Tower will confirm this. The name So will disappear from shops across the continent because it has an effect on male power. In this way, Logan will be able to earn much more than the 3 million that he has now. So far, his enthusiasm is not transferred to Philip after signing the contract. This guy even thinks about running away. He could not believe that he would have to buy monster meat for 1 million. It seems somewhat absurd. Logan said that he is confident in his own decision. Now this meat is worth almost nothing. It is burned, so there are no buyers. That is why if you order monster corpses from someone, you can spend much less money, taking into account the transport fees of the kingdom. If you bring several batches at once, you can save on shipping and spend them on hiring guilds for hunting. Philip believes that this is a completely wrong approach. Now everyone is already throwing away monster meat, so it is enough just to buy it back. There are enough mercenaries who are ready to bring and sell anything for coins. If they see that someone else is trying to get rid of the meat, then they can buy it for Logan. After that, a huge amount of meat will be at the feet of Logan and Philip. This guy is a really brilliant businessman. Philip asked to be given the opportunity to do money planning. Logan agreed and gave him a list of items to buy in the near future. While he is not going to tell that all these goods will be needed for weapons for the war. In a past life, weapons based on these materials were used to invade the kingdom of Grandia. Even the miserable soldier was able to keep the knight under control with his help. Logan entrusted Dwayne to recruit mercenaries who receive these weapons and gain an advantage in the upcoming war. Of course, you need to find a master who will make this weapon and an instructor who will teach you how to use it. 2 days after that, Logan found himself in the Harun mercenary city and met with the Kai mercenary. He wants to hire him as an instructor, but Kai has never done anything like this before. John assured that there is nothing difficult in this job. It is only necessary to train low-ranking mercenaries. Logan has known him since his past life, so he is sure that he is the right person for this case. He can master any weapon and skill. His value will increase after starting work as an instructor. He's not in the best mood right now, so it's time to offer him a solid reward. Logan said that he was ready to pay 4,000 gold coins for this work. A high-ranking mercenary can earn at most half that amount per month, so this is a very good offer indeed. I decided to raise the price a little and said that he likes tasks where you have to fight. Logan had no choice but to raise the price to 8,000 coins. After that, they came to an agreement very quickly, so they have the same views on this business. Kai immediately bowed to his new master and said he would work as hard as ever before. Soon they went on other business together and saw a somewhat interesting situation. A man with a large chain beat his slaves with all his might on the backs. Everyone around knows that Harun is called the city of mercenaries and slaves. There will be many such scenes ahead. If you go further, you can go to the center of the slave market. There you can become the owner of a person for a solid reward. Logan is well aware of this. He's going to go in there and buy himself a special slave. There is a lot of security in the center of the market. It seems he finally found the same place he was looking for. Logan approached the old man and said that he wanted to buy himself a gnome. He was told that he applied to the right address. Unusual races are a rarity, so they are watched especially carefully. He was invited inside and shown the available exotic slaves. Catching elves is always very difficult. Some people have never seen such interesting creatures in their entire lives. The old man wanted to tell a lot more, but Logan asked him to shut up and bring him a dwarf. He pointed at an old and gray-haired man with a long beard. It was a real Gimli-like dwarf from Lord of the Rings. The old man said that among the great dwarven masters, this man is one of the few who has the rank of an expert. By their nature, dwarves are excellent at working with their hands. They create and repair objects, and see this as the meaning of their lives from childhood to old age. The rank of expert is much higher than what Logan was looking for. With this dwarf, you don't have to worry about the quality of weapons. It turned out that for this slave, you will have to pay at least 200,000 coins, which is not a small amount. Logan replied that he is not a fool at all, and is not going to pay more than necessary, so the price should be reduced by 4 times. Although it was very audacious, This strategy worked because the dwarf's true price was much lower than 200,000. The agreement was signed in a few minutes. The old man was extremely unhappy that he sold the expert so cheaply. The dwarf tried to understand why he was bought and where he was being taken. He was afraid that he would be made a servant in the house. Logan said that they are going to the McLean estate in the southwestern lands. Now the dwarf will be engaged in the manufacture of items. Dwarves are indeed very skilled crafters, but this does not apply to those who have been sold into slavery. Despite their natural talents, without passion, they cannot create true works of art. That is why the gnome needs to regain his enthusiasm. Logan said that if the gnome works successfully for 20 years, then he will become free. For a dwarf, 20 years is just a small thing, so he should be pleased with this news. Judging by his face, he took these words to heart. At that moment, they noticed that one of the slaves started to run away, and they tried to stop him. It was a young boy with colorful eyes who was carrying another small slave. Soon they were caught. Two of them at the same time have a hard time escaping from the big guys. Of course, for this they deserved a serious punishment. You can have no doubt that they will be beaten for a very long time. Kai said that it is not necessary to pay too much attention to the slaves, and it is better not to stop for a long time in this place. Logan understood this, but he couldn't help but pay attention to the multicolored eyes. He had seen this somewhere before. After thinking a little about the past, he realized that now he is in front of a young version of Victor. He cannot believe that he will actually meet an aristocratic murderer here. A very famous aura user lived in the kingdom in his past life. At first, he was an ordinary slave who escaped by killing his master. He was wanted for killing a huge number of soldiers and knights, as well as aristocrats, so he went into hiding as a criminal. This continued for 10 years. When he appeared again, he was already using the aura, and showed that he had become higher than ordinary people. This led to the murder of the entire family that previously owned him. Since then, he kills every aristocrat he sees in Grandiose. The incident of the disappearance of this slave happened a year after Logan became a mercenary, which is why this person should not be bought yet. If he saves that person, then the aura user will be on his side in the future. There is one problem, of course. He is a true homicidal maniac who is more ferocious than any beast. However, something can be invented to restrain him, so Logan decided to intervene and protect the boy. The seller immediately changed his behavior and explained that when the goods do not obey him, these slaves have to be educated. Logan said he wanted to buy them. He was immediately explained that children's eyes are different colors, so they are expensive. A normal slave is worth about 3,000, but this man raised their price 3 times, and that is not very good behavior. Logan said that he is not going to overpay for slaves who can barely stand on their feet. He believes that they already have 1 foot in the grave. The seller still tried to avoid a cheap sale and did everything to raise the price. I had to take up arms and show the seriousness of my intentions. This was enough for this man to change his face and be scared to death. He admitted that there are always problems from these slaves. It will only get worse in the future, so he will have to sell them. Thus, the brother and sister were bought at a cheap price and settled with Logan and his men. As they walked together, Logan carefully imbued the children's bodies with magic to restore their strength. A little later, Victor gathered courage and decided to start a fight again. This guy is constantly attacking everyone around him in order to save himself and his sister. You will have to show him who is the boss here, and put everything in its place. Logan said that he should not have looked like an ordinary slave owner. He admits that Victor has a fighting spirit, but he must learn to choose his opponents wisely. Logan hopes he won't have to repeat this twice. If Victor and his sister listen to him, they'll be safe. Of course, if it doesn't happen again, because in that case they will be punished very severely. It was probably a cruel dialogue, but it was necessary to explain to the children what was happening. He said that he was going to make knights out of them, because a knight is a respectable aristocrat. At first, Victor could not believe these words, but then confidently declared that he agreed. Probably his cruel nature can be controlled through his sister. The main thing is to do it right. Logan said that they would start training when they got home and then turned to Hamer. He said that they should go away and talk to each other about signing the contract. The contract will be magical. If the dwarf serves 20 years, he will calmly return to the mountains. It was hard to believe, but McLean really did offer great conditions. Kamar was incredibly pleased and thanked his savior. Yesterday he could only dream of something like this. Tears appeared in his eyes very quickly, so the contract is enough to get him motivated again, which is great news. Thanks to which Logan will be able to get everything he wants, although even more, because he got the killer of aristocrats. Preparations for the upcoming war are proceeding at a fairly good pace. What Logan doesn't know yet is that rumors of his strange behavior have already spread throughout the McLean estate while he was away. His reputation at the moment has sunk to the very bottom. Rick is trying to change something, but he can't do anything. Soon they finally returned and met a servant who always does everything for his master. Rick was very happy to see Logan and to know that he was okay. He also wanted to understand why the owner was not at home for so long and what he was doing all this time. Soon he said that everyone around him is called Logan because of spending a lot of money on monster meat. Of course, it could not be hidden, because Philip was actively engaged in buying monster meat, and said that he was doing it on behalf of Logan McLean. It was believed that rumors about the purchase of meat from more than its sale in the market, but the past Logan prevented this. And everyone around knew that he was a stupid guy who lost a duel to his own younger brother. Few people respected him, and no one wanted to deal with him. Despite such thoughts, Philip's instincts screamed that he should not miss opportunities. He began to offer big money for this meat, and no mercenary will refuse to sell garbage, even to a fool, if he is ready to pay. They were happy and prepared to give away all the monster meat they had, so rumors about Logan and his affairs spread over a large area. Philip completed his task almost perfectly. Logan is really satisfied with his work. Rick doesn't look happy. He looked at the people Logan brought with him and called those people very suspicious. It turned out that even the Lord was angry because of all these rumors, and this could lead to problems. Soon the son came to his father to talk. He said that his trip turned out to be very useful. Patrick McLean already knows about his son's affairs, but he is glad that Logan spent his time with benefit. Rumors are just rumors. The father is happy with what his son is doing. At this moment, the stepmother intervened in the conversation. She started shouting at Logan again and said that he had forgotten his place. In her opinion, the boy's behavior destroys part of their family and has a bad effect on the image. She had to explain that Logan almost didn't spend any of the money, and that he got it from Rena Wolves. Marion's stepmother screamed for a long time, but luckily the Lord intervened and ordered them to shut up immediately. He can no longer listen to all this delusion and asks to leave him alone with his son. He is ready to give him one last warning, but not in front of her. These words sounded quite strange and had a hidden meaning. Logan understood it immediately. When the father and son remained in the room, the Lord tried to understand if the son understood the rumors around him. Everyone around him considers him cruel, evil, and thinking only about money, and lately even insane. It is not known how long the father will have to endure this. He reminded that Logan's mother would also not like what is happening. It is surprising that he remembered her at all. In the past, this did not happen even when Logan was kicked out of the house. Maybe the father still believes in his son. Logan stepped forward and asked to give him 1 year, after which time his father would realize that he was wrong about him. It was a strong request of a real man. A lord has no right to refuse. After this conversation, Patrick remained alone in his room and thought a lot about everything that had happened. If after a year his son does not fulfill his promise, then he will have to act very decisively, because he is the lord of the family. He looked at his past wife Rena and mentally apologized to her for losing control of this. He promised to protect his son at any cost. He promised to do everything so that he would grow up to be a good person. But now it seems that he should have been more attentive to Logan. Meanwhile, it turned out that the youngest son of the family had finally awakened his power. Logan was very happy, and was one of the first to congratulate his brother. He's only 14 years old, and he has already made such progress. Ronan said that all this happened thanks to Logan. The knights tried to prevent him from meeting his brother when he returned. Then everything happened. When he awakened his power, he managed to fight his way through the 2 knights. Of course, now they are not very pleased to hear all this. They pretend as if they did nothing of the sort. The older brother greeted the Ronin and said that when his strength stabilized, he would teach him the secret of the divine sword. He can become much stronger than in his past life. This guy is really talented. Logan then rested for a while and went to the house in the south of McLean's territory. He came to meet personally with Dwayne, the head of the family's finances. The case was made. Dwayne was able to find 350 middle-ranking mercenaries. They were not very happy because they lived in this small house for 10 days. It is necessary to calm them down because otherwise it will not be possible to control them. Logan decided to show his strength and turned to the bald man, who called him crazy. Logan was smiling and wanted to show that he is not afraid of anyone or anything. He reminded that mercenaries of this rank have no abilities that could allow them to look down on other people. He ordered this boy to come forward, even if he was offended by the words. If this man can hit Logan even once, he will immediately pay him a year's salary and let him go. He swears by the honor of the aristocrat that he will do it. All other people are witnesses of his promise. This man immediately approached Logan and smiled a confident smile. He looks not only bigger but also stronger than Logan. This is probably why he is so confident in his own abilities. Now let's see if this is true. He offered to give Logan an advantage, but at that moment he realized that no advantage was needed in this guy. Everyone around was shocked by what was happening. No one expected such a powerful blow. Of course it was a knockout. After such blows, it is impossible not to lose consciousness. The man has lost several teeth and may have forgotten his name. Logan smiled because he perfectly understands that now the mercenaries will not condemn him for his actions. Everyone was surprised that at such a young age he already demonstrates incredible strength. Kai thought his boss was unusual, but he had no idea that he was so strong. It seems that there are no more people willing to test his power. This incident has finally been resolved. Probably everyone is interested to understand why he wants to spend money for mercenaries. This is a logical question. Logan confidently declared that he wanted to make them professional crossbowmen, if it didn't sound ridiculous now. Not only the mercenaries were surprised, but also people close to Logan. The most interesting thing is that Logan wants to make unusual crossbowmen out of them, and cavalry crossbowmen, although Kai considers it absurd. A crossbow is more powerful than a bow, but untrained shooters take a long time to reload. On a horse, a person will very quickly lose the ability to shoot, so the misunderstanding of this proposal can be understood. Now, no one understands that the Cavalier crossbowmen will be a powerful McLean force even after the war. Let everyone consider him delusional, but over time everyone will understand that he is a real genius. Everyone around had only to accept this offer. Several days passed after this conversation. Out of 350 mercenaries, only 312 passed the qualification test. Kamar has already familiarized himself with the information he received from the owner. This is the diagram of the crossbow that needs to be made. Logan had used this weapon for several decades in his past life and was now able to draw this structure again. A high-ranking dwarf shouldn't have much trouble making this. He said that he needs to place the container that will contain the shells in the back of the crossbow and make it self-contained. Also, this weapon should fire 3 times in a row. This idea was personally proposed by Logan. Some mechanisms have not survived and will break, and it will not be comfortable to shoot because of the wooden box behind. Logan said that he does not know how to fix all these shortcomings. The dwarf must find a solution on his own. Of course, Hamar does not like this approach very much. He is used to doing what he is told and not working as an inventor. Logan assured that it is possible to find the right solutions regarding all these nuances. It will no longer be an ordinary weapon. It will be some kind of modern technology that can change everything on the battlefield. This challenge is really getting interesting. Hamer has promised to do everything in his power to complete this task. In a month, he promised to create something extraordinary and said that Logan would be proud of him. It's always nice to deal with the real thing, and Logan chose it for a reason. It's time to give the younger generation some exercise, and now is the perfect weather for it. Victor has started his training. He still wants to be a knight, although it is incredibly difficult for him. Logan is not going to give him weak workloads. On the contrary, this guy has to work twice as hard to reveal his potential. From the moment they arrived here, Logan only fed them and gave them the opportunity to rest. Now, after enough rest and recovery, it's time to work hard. Logan let Victor rest a little. At that moment, his sister immediately ran to his brother. This young guy, who is smaller than his peers, only to run 20 kilometers without rest, he is really incredibly talented. Most of all, I like his tenacity and endurance. Logan worried about this guy for nothing. It is obvious that he was not a real killer from the very birth. It was life that changed him so much. After a few minutes, McLean said that it was enough to rest. It was necessary to move on to a new task. He put a wooden sword in the boy's hand and said that he would learn the techniques of the grandiose kingdom. Every apprentice knight has these skills. He is ready to set an example by his own actions in order to motivate the boy. It will be difficult to do because Victor is so tired that he just wants to pass out and fall asleep. But if this is the price of rest and food, then he is ready to work as hard as possible. Of course, he still has no idea what talent is hidden in his body. Logan sees this perfectly, although he does his best not to show his emotions. Victor perfectly repeats the movements with the sword that he saw for the first time in his life. It is unlikely that a Ronin is so talented at this age. If you develop endurance and perfectly perform the kingdom technique more than 1,000 times in a row, then Victor can be called a knight. These words really affected him. He said that he will do everything possible to make progress. Logan offered the boy new types of weapons, but Victor replied that he didn't need anything, just that everything would be fine with his sister. Victor will not be able to go to war, but in the future he will be a huge support for the McLean family. The mercenary army and new weapons will be a powerful force, but they should not be trusted too much either. A Hamar might not make a good crossbow, and even if it does, there's a chance the mercenaries won't learn how to use it. That is why Logan decided to come up with a backup plan and came to his father. He was confident in his own idea and said that he wanted to join the training of the knights. The next day, his father agreed to this request and allowed him to train with real professionals. He sent him to Heinkel. He is a captain of the McLean Knights. Today, young Logan will train with this order. The other knights were shocked. They thought it was all just some kind of joke. The captain also did not look very happy. It was noticeable that the conversation with the Lord turned out to be unpleasant. He asked the Lord to change his decision, but Patrick McLean said that his son should not be treated specially. On the contrary, he should be forced to do maximum loads as if he were a real beginner. Let him say so, but still Logan stays with the Lord's son, so he needs special treatment. The boy turned to the captain and said that there was no need to worry about him. If he does not reach the level of the other knights during this week, he will pretend that nothing happened and leave the training. These words really surprised the captain. He decided that this week the level of difficulty of training will increase 3 times. This means not only that Logan will have a hard time, the other knights will also be begging to be saved from this hellish training. The captain turned out to be very strict and was not going to give his soldiers too much rest. He asked them to feel what the horses felt when armored warriors mounted them. These knights had never heard such a dream in their lives, but they had to obey the order. It seemed to them that the young heir of the family would not last even 3 days, but it turned out that he is much more durable than others. He showed not only miracles of endurance, but also speed, strength, and incredible character. It was difficult for the captain to watch him lead. Let's recall that the difficulty of training was increased so that Logan would give up. So far, this plan is failing. Of course, the boy guessed what was happening, so he felt double pleasure and smiled. At this rate, not Logan, but other knights will abandon this program and decide to become bakers and domestic workers. The captain decided to give the order for an immediate stop and gave everyone the opportunity to rest for 10 minutes. He went over to Logan to make sure he was okay. The captain said that he was ready to cancel the training, but the boy replied that he felt great and was ready to continue. He looks forward to continuing his training, even though the other knights curse him for it. The captain tried to achieve a completely different result, but not always everything goes according to his own plan. Training continued for many more hours. The knights will remember this day for the rest of their lives. Training with them is insurance in case all of Logan's plans fail. If all else fails, he'll join the knights and fight on the front lines, so it's best to get close to them now. Its powers can be developed through meditation, but it is also important to train your body. This is exactly what the training of the Order of Knights will be needed for. Logan knew that it would work. His power core is growing. He doesn't even feel tired and is ready to keep going again and again. Perhaps when he reaches the 2nd star level, he will become a high-ranking knight like his father. After that, he returned to the dwarf and was saddened by the results of his work. All these weapons that he made still did not fit Logan. These crossbows have slightly different characteristics. Hamar was incredibly angry. He worked a lot, and the result turned out to be too weak. Several weeks of work were wasted. Logan is also to blame. He expected too much from the dwarf. He probably overestimated his abilities and made a mistake and invested money in a weak dwarf. Hamar promised that he would make a new weapon in a month and return with a better result. If you make him even more angry, he will probably do something truly incredible. Soon they met again so that Logan could look at the new crossbow in person. Its characteristics were much better than the previous version. This weapon can fire faster and more accurately, and it is much more comfortable to hold with one hand, and it is easy to change the magazine. Logan was really shocked and pleased at the same time. He reloaded this crossbow in 5 seconds. A fantastic result. It is hard to believe that they have come so far, even though the war is still a month away. It seemed to the dwarf that Logan was not listening to him at all, but the boy lifted him up and thanked him for his excellent work. Now it's time to ask for something more. Hamar must make 400 such crossbows in a month. Meanwhile, Logan handed the crossbows to the other warriors so they could experience with their own hands what kind of weapon it was. Even such an experienced mercenary as Kai was surprised and could not understand how an ordinary crossbow could be capable of such a thing. It is dual-charged and fires long range with incredible speed and power. If you give the entire army such weapons, it is difficult to even think about the consequences. The dwarf really had to work very hard. He was helped by other masters. Of course, it is impossible to predict whether they will have time to make the required number of weapons before the war. From this day forward, all mercenaries must take up crossbows and defend the mountains outside the McLean territories. It seems impossible, but Kai does not really want to refuse this request. He must do everything in his power to complete this task. Otherwise, all the work will be in vain. Kai realizes that his boss would not make all these weapons just to destroy monsters, so he prepares for a global war. Also, Logan did not forget about his backup plan. He should improve his physical properties. This will help him become a real knight, and already now you can note his incredible progress. The other knights find it hard to believe that he can be so strong. Maybe it's all because of his genes. Most of the knights refused to continue such hard training, but Logan continued no matter what. The training that was designed to get him to give up his knighthood was now commonplace among the order. They became an incentive for low-ranking knights who previously trained too calmly. Strengthening the ties between the knights was a nice bonus. Captain Heinkel continued to train them in the same mode, because the first heir of the family did not leave the order, although the result surprised him. Even after hard training and long days, at night Logan still tried to find an opportunity to improve himself. After training his body hard, he can stimulate inner awareness through meditation. Repetition and coordination of this is paying off. He has already noticed changes in his body recently. If he continues to progress this quickly, Superman, Aura Master, and Sorcerer Supreme will no longer be a threat to him. In the past life they were stronger than him, but now that must change. His inner energy and power core grows. That's the effect of meditation. Finally, after several hours of active training, he received the core of the second star. Now this means that he has a base for learning the next hidden sword technique. This ancient and legendary technique is called the Iron Slit Kill. If we take into account the power obtained from the first technique, then the upgrade should be much better. The main thing is to have time to do all this before the war. If he is really capable of this, even high-ranking knights will not be afraid of him at all. The days were changing each other very quickly. The war is approaching at an incredible pace. There were many monsters in the lands near the McLean family's territory. On the order of the second deputy of the family, the mercenaries took up crossbows and began to destroy these monsters. You can call it a professional cleaning of territories with the help of the latest weapons. Kai was the general of the mercenary army. As a true leader, he led them. The guys were very pleased. This crossbow is really a real breakthrough in military equipment. Shots from this weapon can go right through a monster's head, which used to seem like a fantasy. Usually, the young heir of the McLean family also rode with them. He was pleased with the results. A pack of monsters was destroyed in less than 10 seconds. This result can be safely entered in the Guinness Book of Records. No wonder they went hunting in such distant lands. The results get better with each new challenge. He apologized for his question, but he still wants to understand something, because he has never heard of a mercenary army with such power before. It seems that Lucas gathered them together in order to destroy absolutely all the monsters on the continent. Their conversation was very interesting, but suddenly a messenger sent by Aurora intervened. This messenger reported that yesterday, a man named Viscount Tesserin officially declared war on them. The Viscount accused the McLean house of insulting his predecessor and wrongfully killing him. This news came as a real shock to the family lord. He did not expect war at all. This whole situation happened in the distant past, so it is surprising that they decided to fight only now. Everyone was trying to understand what the Lord was planning to do. People were scared because they understood what war is. The number of the knightly order of Viscount is much higher than the order of McLean. There is almost no chance of victory. It was suggested to ask for support and send knights to guard the city, although of course this has its risks. The Lord ordered everyone to shut up. Let the power in the family not be as great as before. But these people constantly declare war for no reason. It becomes obvious that this was planned on purpose. But now it doesn't matter at all. Patrick McLean has ordered his men to prepare for war and make a plan for victory. He doesn't even want to hear any alternative options. Everyone was surprised and visibly scared, and his wife started asking about the children. With an angry face, the Lord replied that his 2 sons would go to war with the others. Ronan has recently awakened his power, and Logan is old enough to contribute. If they both can use their power, then they should support the McLean family in a difficult moment. Rick listened to all this and was scared. He understood how bad the news was. That is why he decided to immediately report to his master about everything that happened in the estate. When Logan learned the latest news, he did not look very happy. According to his knowledge, the war was supposed to start 2 months later. Now he has to hurry. Their rivals are ignoring customs and heading for McLean territory. If Logan leaves right now, he may only make it to the middle of the battle. There is no time to think about it. Kai, along with all the other mercenaries, said they were ready to fight right now. It seems that these guys are not at all surprised by the news. They probably only dream of participating in the war. They gained incredible physical shape and got excellent weapons, so now they are confident in their own strength. Logan understands that they really have reason to be confident, because there is no chance left for a pack of monsters. If the war really starts, then they only have to win, and now they have enough strength to do so. House McLean was shocked by the unexpected news of war, but all the warriors were confident of victory. The war began earlier than planned by Logan. The next day, the Tesserin troops were already on the territory of the McLean family. Their number was much larger than expected. More than 100 knights. More than 1,000 soldiers of the regular army. Also, don't forget about 10,000 cavalry, so it's a real full-scale war. The Lord could not understand why he would go so far. He had underestimated his opponent, and now he understood it. Recently, the House of Kiros announced that it was not going to give them help. Marion could not believe that her relatives refused to help in a difficult moment. It seemed to her that it was all a mistake. But it was true. The Lord ordered to gather all the men who are ready to take up arms and prepare to defend their land to the last drop of blood. Closest of kin, the House of Kiros turned away from them. McLean was ambushed, and now death was upon him. They managed to collect only 53 knights, a pitiful number compared to the rival knight order. With them will be 552 soldiers of the regular army and 4,000 ordinary men with arms. They will have a much stronger and larger army against them, so it all looks pretty bleak. The knights began to think that the Lord's eldest son had run away. A Ronin intervened in the conversation and said that Logan would never have done such a thing. The boy knows that his older brother expected the war to start soon, and he decided to teach him ancient sword techniques that might be needed during battle. Nevertheless, the soldiers still continued to repeat that Logan decided to run away. Ronan couldn't believe it, but his father ordered him to replace his older brother. He must remain decisive in any situation, so that it does not happen. He must fight with his head held high. While the Ronin refused to believe his brother's betrayal, the Lord led the warriors to victory in this war. They went after him, although they understood that this could be their last time. The Viscount only smiled. He expected an easy victory and a large booty. He also ordered the knights to attack and spare no one on the battlefield. Patrick McLean was ahead. He saw unknown soldiers approaching him and thought that they were his rivals. He started to attack, but the unknown warrior was able to block his blow. Something like this had never happened to a lord. It looks like his opponent is really very powerful. This battle is getting harder and harder by the minute. Rick also took part in this battle. He trembled with fear because he understood that the forces were not equal at all. It is obvious that they will lose this battle. Their army is so weak that they even had to call servants for help. One of the soldiers of the enemy army pushed him to the ground and prepared to send him to another world. At the last moment, the boy was very lucky, because the enemy was treacherously killed. Rick escaped, but that doesn't mean he's safe now because the battle continues. He wanted to thank his savior, but in a few seconds this man also died. This is what real war means. Here everything happens incredibly fast. The slightest loss of concentration can lead to fatal consequences. Rick decided that it was necessary to flee immediately and find a safe place, away from the enemy. It will not be so easy to do, because he has already managed to find himself in the very heart of the confrontation. Meanwhile, Lord McLean continued to fight against powerful opponents. He didn't expect that the Thezron army had high-ranking knights. That was another problem. Patrick said that despite his respectable age, he is still capable of much more, and is not going to give up without a fight. These young fellows were visibly mocking him, especially the high-ranking knight who wasn't shy about showing his superiority. The legendary lord of the McLean family was surrounded, although he is on a horse, but the forces are still not equal. If he does not make his way further, then the knight squad will also be left behind. So it is necessary to act very quickly and decisively. Patrick McLean never shied away from battles. He laughed in the face of death and always went forward. For him, honor was always much more expensive than money. He was ready to fight for honor and die for honor. This was his whole life, and even today, on the day of this brutal battle, he is not going to betray his principles. It was bound to happen sooner or later. A sneaky opponent sneaked up from behind and pierced the Lord's armor. Patrick McLean screamed in pain. He had been seriously injured before, but today it was much worse. While the high-ranking knight was blocking his blows, the other warriors attacked from behind, an obvious ambush but impossible to avoid. In those moments, the Lord was thinking about his youngest son. He hoped that the Ronin would be able to continue the family legacy. Meanwhile, the general of the other army was satisfied. He did the right thing by not telling anyone about his high-ranking knight. Now all that's left is to defeat Patrick and capture the McLean estate, and the job will be done. You can't make hasty conclusions in war. Today Viscount Tezron will be remembered for the rest of his life. And he was told that an unknown army was approaching them. There were about 300 soldiers, and they were armed with crossbows. The Viscount began to smile and said that only hunters use crossbows. He ordered the archers to eliminate the threat. It seemed to him that everything was under control, but in a few seconds he realized that the situation was not easy. A huge number of his soldiers were killed in a minimal amount of time. The Viscount turned his head and saw unknown soldiers in front of him. This unit was led by the eldest son of the McLean family, Logan. He came to protect his territory no matter what. When he saw the huge number of dead friends and relatives, he almost lost control of himself with rage. All he had to do was order to constantly attack the enemies and not give them the opportunity to escape. Opponents did not know that the McLean family had such a professional squad of avengers. It was necessary to prepare better for the battle, but now it is too late to regret. The archers gathered together and began to strike back. They very quickly realized that there is one big problem. It is the distance. The arrows do not reach the avengers at all. So the weapon that was made by the dwarf turned out to be extremely revolutionary, and today it is felt more than ever. Logan and his soldiers could stay at a safe distance and calmly shoot the enemy army. Almost the entire rear was shot in just a few minutes. That's what innovation does on the battlefield. The Viscount could not believe that the opponent did this with the help of ordinary crossbows. He ordered his cavalry to move from the front line here to protect the others. Soon the reinforcements appeared. These guys have better armor, so it will be more difficult to fight them. Logan did not lose his optimism. He saw that the rivals were joining hands with them, and this is a good sign. All this time, the youngest heir of the family fought hard, despite his young age. Being in a real battle, he realized that he was not a genius, but just a guy who had recently spent his strength. He remembered his father's last words about the Ronin having to replace his older brother on the battlefield. The guy looked very confident in his powers. but he could not understand why his rivals turned their backs on him. He decided to get closer and take advantage of this opportunity, but someone outran him and killed the knight much faster. He saw that it was done with ordinary arrows. Soon he raised his head and saw his older brother in front of him. So the Ronin was right. His older brother could not leave his family, and came to save her at the most difficult moment. The Tesseron army organized and lined up to attack all the warriors holding crossbows. This famous line of defense construction is called the Snake Shield. Logan read about it when he was little. He ordered his assistants to aim slightly below the soldiers. At first, this order seemed very strange. A little later, he explained that in fact their target was not the warriors at all, but their horses. That's when all the mercenaries understood the intentions of their captain. They liked this idea very much. Logan was happy that he managed to arrive in time and protect his younger brother. Of course, he should not forget his father. This time he decided to save his family, so there is no point in winning the battle if the father dies. He ordered Kai to stay behind and left the army to find Lord McLean. Kai could not understand Logan's actions. The victory is almost in their pocket, but this red-haired boy does not want to take it away. The battle continued. Patrick McLean fought like a real hero, despite being badly wounded. His opponents, as if under the influence of hypnosis, attacked him without stopping, a strange behavior if you remember that they are already winning. Opponents clearly have an advantage. They have surrounded the Lord and are approaching victory. At this moment, they felt that something very powerful was approaching them. Turning their heads back, they saw the eldest heir of the McLean family. With one move, he destroyed everyone who attacked his father. It was really fantastic. Now Patrick will have no choice but to admit that his son has indeed changed for the better. He saw how Logan with a detachment of mercenaries approached from the left flank, but he was sure that it was very far from here. It is not known how his son was able to come so quickly and save him. Moreover, his warriors destroyed almost the entire enemy army. Logan assured his father that now the advantage on the battlefield was on their side. Patrick approached him, put his hand on his eldest son's shoulder and said that he was proud of him and thanked him for saving him. It is always nice to understand that your son has made great progress and has become a real man. Although this is a very sentimental moment, you can't relax, because there are a lot of enemies around. The boy asked his father to rest and promised to do all the dirty work for him. Patrick was forced to obey. His injury in any case would not give him the opportunity to fight at 100%. Logan ran forward with fire in his eyes. He had never felt so strong and confident. The enemy knight was surprised. He expected Lord McLean to attack him, not this pathetic guy. It seemed that they are at about the same level, but Logan is sure that this is not so, and wants to demonstrate his progress. Each of them tried to constantly attack. In such a battle, a minimal loss of concentration can be equal to the loss of the head. Logan felt that he could no longer waste time and play childish games, so he activated the steel-breaking wave skill. It was so powerful that the opponent didn't even have a chance to defend himself. Everyone around saw this incredible glow. At first it even seemed that it was the use of magic. In this way, Logan destroyed a high-ranking knight, which was hard to believe a few months ago. He raised his sword up and began to shout loudly that he had killed the general of the enemy army. This led to panic among the opponents. Some even began to throw down their weapons and try to run away. Thus, very quickly, McLean's army, despite all the troubles, was able to win this confrontation. Viscount Tesseron had no choice but to flee. He had been preparing for this battle for 3 years, but at the last moment, everything did not go according to plan. Before this war, he even invited support from the aristocrats, but the second heir of the McLean family spoiled everything. He arrived at his estate and ordered the gates to be opened immediately, but the guards were in no hurry to do so. They asked him to turn around, and then he saw that enemy cavalry was approaching him. So all this time, Logan pursued his enemy. He was not going to let him go. Logan acts like a real predator who has seen his victim, and now it remains only to make the last step. The young heir of the family mounted his horse and turned to the enemy archers. He ordered them to open the gate and let the winner in, although they found it hard to believe that the Viscount had actually lost. Realizing that you can't wait for an answer, he demonstrated his talent for high jumps. Now they will be forced to open the gates to him, unless of course they want to go to hell. Meanwhile, the army general, instead of being on the front line and defending his territory, was trying to pack all his things. He was already dreaming of escaping and trying to take the maximum amount of gold with you. Soon he heard that the door of the room opened and someone entered it. It was Logan's voice. So this guy found the right room in this big manor very quickly. He did not do this without the help of a servant. This woman helped him even before he began to threaten her. Such behavior of servants already speaks about the reputation of their boss. It is unlikely that he is considered a good person. Everyone around decided to sell him and save themselves from serving such a bad person. The Viscount began to beg to leave him alive and offered a substantial compensation. That is, he started a war without a normal reason, and now he is asking for pardon. It even sounds pathetic. It seems that he has no conscience at all, and Logan is not going to forgive him for all these actions. Tesrun reminded that Logan must have the honor of an aristocrat and has no right to kill prisoners of war, according to the convention. The guy replied that he respects the honor and traditions of his McLean house, so he is ready to save the life of the enemy. These are all beautiful words, but that's what Patrick McLean would say. But Logan is a completely different person. In the treasure chest, the boy noticed a very interesting sword decorated with various diamonds. He asked the Thesron to take this sword with him and plunged it directly into the heart. Maybe his father would have saved this man's life, but Logan is not exactly like his father. The enemy's miserable life must end at this point because he does not deserve a second chance. Thus Viscount Tesrun died in his estate after being sold by his own men. Logan is incredibly satisfied that they finally survived this disaster, for which they have been actively preparing for the past months. He began to shout and call the servants, and said that Viscount Hamon Tesron had died by suicide. A little later, Kai entered the room and said that Logan should go down and see what is happening in the underground part of the estate. After these events, several days passed. Lord McLean came to the Tesron estate because he was summoned by his eldest son. He said that the Viscount committed suicide because he was in despair after what happened. The father approached his son and said that he knew that it was actually Logan who killed him. The guy admitted that this is true. He believes that they should take this estate under their control. He does not want the Tesron family to remain alive and create new problems in the future. Patrick admitted that his son is already an adult and has reasons to do so. No matter what anyone says, Logan played a decisive role in this battle, and his father is grateful to him for that. Now he's ready to make him the official heir to House McLean. Although this is a great honor, but strangely enough, Logan smiled, apologized, and refused this offer. His father definitely did not expect such a turn of the plot. It was previously believed that becoming an heir is the highest reward for any achievements. Logan explained that McLean is a family of knights, so a Ronin is better suited for this position. He started using the powers at the age of 14, that is 5 years earlier than Logan. It is impossible to predict what achievements he will conquer when he reaches an older age. The father admitted that the son was really right, but said that the heir of the family was not made for military achievements. Logan is sure that if the Ronin, as in the past life, receives the title of young power user, then there will be no more problems in the family. The bottom line is that Logan won't get any benefits when he becomes the heir, so it doesn't make sense. As an older brother, he is willing to give the younger one a chance and hopes that his father will wait until the Ronin reaches the right age. Patrick did not expect that his son is so respectful of the younger generation. He accepts his choice. The father wants to reward his son for his success on the battlefield, so Logan asked him to choose a gift for himself. Soon the knights of the McLean family returned to their territory. They were greeted as true heroes. Everyone was surprised that they returned from the war only a week after it began, although some already learned that the war actually lasted only a day. Also, ordinary people learned that the war was won with the help of the eldest heir of the family. His mercenaries completely turned the tide of the match with the help of the latest weapons and good strategy. Young people recognize that geniuses are different from ordinary people. They look at Logan as a Superman. With the help of his hearing, he hears all these conversations. He becomes a little uncomfortable, because he is not used to this. He decided to smile with his signature smile. It was probably time to tell him that he was not doing very well. When people see his smile, they immediately understand that in reality their nightmares are not scary at all. After that, it's time to get a well-deserved rest. The victory ceremony will continue until the morning. Everyone around is celebrating, but Logan remains calm. Walking near the estate, he saw his younger brother and his mother. They were walking towards him. Marion was very angry. She had already heard that Logan refused to become the heir and was sure that this was his evil plan. This woman believes that he is going to deceive everyone around her, but she is sure that she will not allow herself to be deceived. Ronan began to apologize to his brother for his mother's behavior, but Logan assured him that he was not offended by it. Marion always treated him badly, but after the betrayal of the Kiros family, she lost her power and authority. There's no point in being afraid of her anymore, but if you apologize right now, she might accept the apology, and that might be helpful. Logan admitted that his actions in recent months are not trustworthy. He regrets that he was driven by envy and a sense of inferiority. Then he looked at his younger brother and said that he would also like to apologize to him. He had already apologized to him after his return, but he never voiced what exactly he was apologizing for. He apologizes for hating the Ronin all these years and constantly insulting him. All this time he was trying to hide his own incompetence with hatred. Now is the time to officially apologize and admit that he behaved wrongly. Logan understands that good deeds cannot cover all the bad things that were done before. His brother replied that he accepted this apology. He always believed that as long as he treated Logan well, sooner or later his brother would become good. Now it is clear that this conversation should have happened much earlier, but better late than never. Logan sincerely follows his younger brother and helps him. He hopes that the Ronin will become the heir of the family. It is obvious that he cannot ask to believe him right away, but he asks the Marians to observe his actions and become more gentle towards him. To start this conversation, it is enough for his close people to admit that he has really changed. The celebration ended, and in a few days after rest, Logan went to the dwarf. They've done a great job, but now it's time to get back to the hard work. From now on, they will develop the mine. The dwarf should like the idea. Let's go back a little and remember the conversation between father and son about the reward that Logan wants to receive. He asked to get the right to develop a mine on a mountain near the boundaries of the Tesron. Although it is a big mountain, the father does not understand why his son chose this particular place. Few people know, but in the future they may find a lot of gold there. The reason why House Thezron started the feudal war became clear only a year after its end. Thezron mined gold on the mountain in the captured territory of the MacLeans, and by doing so became far more influential than any duke. After that, Ronan MacLean destroyed his family out of revenge. That's how it was in the past life. Kai brought his boss to the underground prison of the Tesron Castle. They found unusual people here, so they decided to show it to Logan. They shouted that they had done nothing wrong. They had only found gold from the mine, although that was exactly what they had been hired to do. This Viscount really crossed all the lines, so he absolutely deserved to die. It is hard to believe that he imprisoned 5 valuable experts in the field of mines. A real fool. On the other hand, now Logan has found a real treasure that will help him become great. They won the war against the Thezron army, but it was like overcoming a small wave. If the invasion of the Empire, which will lead to the destruction of the state, is the last obstacle, then the event that will happen a year later will be the beginning of the destruction of the nation. It refers to the death of the current king Samuel von Grand. His death will lead to a conflict between the 3 princes for the crown, after which a civil war will weaken the fighting power of the kingdom. The Empire will attack at the moment when the kingdom's strength is not yet restored. It will lead to disaster. At home, Glue is a member of the faction. He maintains neutrality, and this allows him to remain a calm observer. Logan cannot miss such a chance. He wants to take advantage of the chaos to take back the lands that belonged to them before. They will once again become the rulers of the southwestern territories, although a lot of work is still needed for this. The time has come to introduce the experts to the dwarf. Now they will have to work together. For the sake of the future, it is necessary to quickly increase combat power, so there is a lot of work. This mountain will become a real gold mine for sponsoring any ideas. There is gold in the middle of this mountain, so Logan wants all these people to do everything they can to get this gold and put it in his pocket. Of course, this work will cost money. In order to earn money, you have to spend some of it. Hamar was not very pleased. He did not like this whole idea, although the number was always engaged in searching for treasures in the mines. Tesron promised to pay the experts a lot, which is why they immediately agreed to his terms. And they want everything to be the same here. To begin with, everyone wants to make sure that there really is gold in this mountain. Logan is certain that he personally saw it with his own eyes. Everyone was very surprised, but few dared to say that the heir of the MacLean family was a liar. He said that this task is very confidential, so they will work only in groups of 6. Of course, this sounds like a real absurdity because 6 people will not be able to work normally in the mine. The expert looked at the dwarf and hoped that he would support his protest. Kamar is in no hurry to go against his boss. He said that it is better for them to prepare for death right away. Logan was satisfied that his dwarf was already similar to his slave. During this time, they really began to understand each other better. To begin with, you need to get to the gold to understand the scale of the work. Of course, you have to pay for it. In addition, it should not be forgotten that the safe development of the mine will take a long time. It only takes 6 months to prepare. Logan knew that it would take a lot of time and money to implement this idea, but this gold made the Viscount more powerful than the dukes, so this changes everything. Logan must get the gold at any cost. Now it would be ideal to sell the monster meat and invest the money in the mine. The effectiveness of the meat will be known only after 6 months, although if you remove the toxin right now, the meat will become a bestseller. This is exactly the decision that the young warrior made. In any case, he has no other choice but to try. After this conversation, a week has passed. We are transported to the MacLean house in the south. Rick made a medicine at his master's behest made from nightgrass, territory grass, and medicinal herb. These medicines can help make monster meat safe to eat. There is, of course, some problem. This meat has already started to stink very badly. Rick almost passed out from the smell. Logan is much easier because he is awake and can control his body. Soon they began to sprinkle the meat with these drugs. The black spots are the most poisonous, so you have to pay special attention to them. After that, you need to work a little with the meat and make mincemeat out of it and create small balls. It is this product that will be sold there. Everything will be created by Rick, so he must remember the entire process. The guy was not very happy with this job because he doesn't like the smell, but as soon as Logan said that it would pay well for it, Rick changed his mind. A little later, it's time to try these drugs. They should improve men's health. Logan began to explain in fairly simple language and gave the example of rabbits. If you let these animals try these drugs, the result will not make you wait. It was a little embarrassing to talk about, but still, these medicines are really very important. Logan mentioned that there was one person to test this meat on. He meant Dwayne. Soon they met. Logan approached imperceptibly and said that he had been waiting for their meeting for a long time. Because of this, the Minister of Finance of the House McLean was incredibly frightened. It was necessary to be more careful when greeting him. Logan assured that he just wanted to give him a shoulder massage. He has been getting tired a lot lately, because of the things that need to be settled after the war. The family's affairs have worsened due to the fact that Dwayne spends a lot of money on military affairs. The knights and servants do not know about this and ask for payment, so the administration is going through hard times now. As soon as this conversation began, Dwayne realized that he had to flee immediately and said that he had important business to attend to. Logan stopped him and offered to eat a magic pill. It will help relieve tension and improve health. At first, Dwayne was skeptical of the offer, but decided to give it a try. Soon he was already running along the corridor as if obsessed and constantly shouting. Dwayne ran up to Logan and started asking him the price of these magic pills. Such a reaction can only mean one thing. It's success, and monster meat pills really work. After the first successful attempt, the men bowed their heads to Logan, and the experiments continued. Rumors reached Logan that the general of the Order of Knights has been having problems with his wife lately. He decided to give him a monster meat pill and see what the result would be for this man. In such cases, the result does not make you wait. The effect is visible almost immediately. As soon as Heinkel tasted this magical pill, he immediately went to his wife. Logan was incredibly pleased that he was simultaneously testing the effects of the pills and helping his friends. Now it's time to talk to the father because he is the third subject of the experiment. Everything went according to plan. Maybe in the near future, Logan and Ronan will have another brother. Rick also hopes that he will get these magic pills. He has been dreaming of something like this for a long time. Logan did not pay much attention to him and said that Rick did not have a wife and to test the pill. If these drugs work, then the demand for them will immediately appear, and it will be possible to sell them for large sums of money. He offered to sell the pill for 100 gold coins. Philip Cloud thinks that this price is too high. Logan is confident in his product. It was bought so often in a past life that the price rose even more. If you sell it in limited quantities, you can earn much more. The main thing is to be sure of the result. If the result is great, all you have to do is have someone famous try the pill and give their opinion. It must be someone who needs these drugs, such as an aristocrat who is considered quite famous. Even if it's a secret, the rumor will still spread, and everyone else will start buying these pills for a lot of money. Philip suggested going to a banquet organized in the capital, where it is very easy to find friends and connections. He said that it is necessary to spend a lot of money on advertising, because you cannot sell goods at the banquet. It seems that this is exactly what Logan wants to do, although there are risks that his house will cease to be respected, because it is not accepted in the highest community. If this happens, then Logan will not be sold at all. First, you need to talk to an informant in the capital. Soon the heir of the McLean family will come to the Grand and tell all the details at a personal meeting. After this conversation, a week passed and they finally met in the capital of the Kingdom of Grandia, Grand City. Philip could not understand how Logan got permission to transport the goods. It turned out that there is no permit. All this can be considered smuggling. His father helped him in this matter. He must have treated him much better after his successes in the war. Philip believes that such an influential person cannot drive without security, because it is dangerous. When there are many guards around, it is difficult to choose a route, to the point that they have their own work. Meanwhile, Rick received a very important assignment from his boss. As in his past life, he does everything for Logan. Soon it was decided, as a sign of gratitude to Rick for what he does for the McLean family, to name the medicine in his honor, Emporic. Although Logan thought it was a great name, the Golden Beetle has a completely different opinion about it. After a long journey, Philip suggested that the boss rest, but Logan believes that one cannot stop there. One must continue to work. Philip said that he met with the informant of the capital, so he is not sure that he will be paid correctly for each document. Logan assured that although he is an informer and receives a lot of money, his work is really of high quality. To begin with, they need the names of aristocrats who have been married for the past 10 years, but have not had children. They also need the names of aristocrats who have remarried and do not have mistresses. Of course, we should not forget about the names of aristocrats who eat food that increases endurance. After a little rest, it will be ideal to come to the banquet and meet all these aristocrats. All of them are very rich and influential people who like parties and recreation in the company of the same people. Among them is Count Davies, a respectable middle-aged man with problems with excess weight. Logan approached him and greeted him. He said his name and told what area he was from. "New guests are treated with care here," the Count immediately greeted Logan, although he looked a little worried. He looked at this boy and thought that he was dressed like a clown. Such clothes are not at all fashionable in the capital. He has no time for empty talk. His only goal is Count Fallon Davis, an important figure in the preservation of the Kingdom of Grandia. In addition, this man got married 20 years ago and still has no children. In a past life, this man became very famous. To be more precise, he became infamous because he committed suicide because of his wife. This happened after an incident between them. His wife insulted him at a banquet. She said that he can't do anything in bed, and that she hasn't considered him a real man for a long time. The reputation and opinion of other people were very important to him, so he could not stand it and committed suicide. This man fits all 3 points that were named by the informant. He is an ideal first-time emporic buyer. Logan said that he came to the capital for business and decided to personally meet local authorities. Everyone around scoffed at the heir of the McLean family. He really looks quite strange, but he didn't care. The guy assured that there is nothing similar to his product. That is why he came to bless the aristocrats of the capital. He explained that these drugs will be made for men and they enhance male abilities. The Count immediately began to scream like a mad pig. He could not believe that the son of an aristocrat was selling such things. An ordinary provincial has no right to speak in such a respectable place. Now he will be despised. Logan did not give up and said that as an introduction, he brought 1 pill with him and wanted to present it to the Count. A little later, he will sell this item for a lot of money, but now it is just a one-time gift. The Count looked a bit incredulous, but Logan assured that these drugs do not have any side effects. He swears by the honor of an aristocrat. A few days passed after this conversation. A servant of the Count came to Logan to buy some more pills. So this plan worked perfectly. The result was not long in coming. Thus, they immediately began to make money from the sale of magic drugs for men. Philip suggested expanding the store so that people could come in and see the range in person. Logan agreed and said that now is the time to go to the banquet. Now he goes there every day, sometimes twice a day. He understands that 1 client is not enough for him, so it is necessary to expand the client base. It is necessary to advertise the product to the maximum number of people, and then the result will be better. A week later, the Count's servant came again to buy these pills. This man was surprised because no food had affected his Count in this way before. But he was much more surprised when he saw a huge line to the store with these pills. All these people were familiar to him, respectable men and employees of various aristocrats. Soon Philip came out to them and announced in a loud voice that they had sold all the pills today. The reaction was the same for all men. All were upset and disappointed. Philip explained that these drugs have become very popular, but there is not enough supply, so there is a limit of 50 boxes per day. They begged to sell them at least something, because if they returned empty-handed, their owners would be very angry. Only Logan introduced restrictions on the sale of pills. The price immediately increased. Other people who see the queue are also interested. So far, everything is going according to plan, and every day people form a queue outside the store from the very morning. Every day for a month, the sales plan is successfully executed, almost immediately after opening the store. Now they earn more than 4.5 million coins a month. No one could have expected that there are so many disabled men in the capital. Now the price of medicine is 3 times higher, and still people are willing to pay. Logan will soon start to worry about the future of this kingdom, but for now he can joke around and enjoy life. He thanked his assistant and said that from next month Philip will receive a percentage of the profit. They had no idea that a man in a black hood was secretly watching their house all this time. A little later, Logan decided to talk to the dwarf and find out about the pace of development of the mine. He was shocked to hear about 10 tons of gold every year. Many people heard this conversation. Judging by the words of the miners, there is a great chance that the gold is in the deeper layers of the earth. In any case, this is a huge profit, which is not even possible to spend in a lifetime. It seems as if Logan has won the jackpot. Also, do not forget that in order to get this gold from the mine, you have to spend a lot. Logan assured that he will find all the money in time, although the dwarf is not very happy, because he was hoping for an extra vacation. The primary investment costs for mine development will be approximately 5 million. If the sales of medicines will go at the same pace, then this money can be collected in almost a month. There are still a lot of monster meat pills left, but we still need to get it home and send an even bigger batch here to start work in the mine. Logan looked around and felt like someone was inside his house. He thought that these could be fraudsters or criminals who came to steal the medicine. He opened the door and did not see anyone in front of him. They must have already left. The problem is that there is only one exit from the house, so these criminals must be somewhere nearby. The boy took out his sword and started swinging it around him, probably to help scare off his opponents. He did not see anyone around, although he very clearly felt the presence of another person. A little later he felt that he was not mistaken after all. This unknown criminal was the iron roof of the building. So they met. Now all these secrets must be revealed. At least it seemed so at first glance, because in a second this man disappeared from sight. Not even a trace of his presence remained, although he had just been standing in front of Logan. There was no way out. You have to go home and rest because tomorrow is also a lot of work. Logan told Philip that a man who knows how to use aura entered their house, although this is only a theory. Badley felt that this man had a very high rank. It was obviously different from his own strength. It is surprising that an aura user can be a criminal, because such people can become aristocrats. It makes no sense for them to rob houses. A little later, Logan saw that 2 pills of monster meat had disappeared from the house. Everything else was in place. So among aura users, there are also disabled men, and this is very interesting. Philip began to remember that there should have been a man on the list who fit this description. He is an aura user, has no children, and lives in the capital. He could be seen in the city center. He is quite tall, has long hair and a bushy beard. His wife always notices that he pays attention to the children, but this man pretends that nothing is happening. This upsets this woman. She understands that they cannot have children, although they both want it very much. They are happy that they met each other, even despite all these troubles. He feels that his wife is always on his side and ready to support him no matter what, but it still breaks his heart. The best swordsman in the kingdom is Felix Esperanza. Sadness and regret live in his heart. It all started with a simple injury in his youth. When he was fighting for his country, he was injured below the waist. As a young man, it did not bother him very much, because he was fulfilling his knightly duty. Many years passed, and he realized that there is no sense in the title of Duke and the glory of the strongest knight in the world, without a child who will become the heir to it. His wife understands how difficult it is for him to live with this, although she loves him even in spite of all these problems. She always wanted to stay by his side and be a support for him in difficult moments of life. Felix could not believe that he could not repay her in any way for this boundless love that he receives from her. The family gathering will begin soon, but Felix is not going to rush. There is no sense in this, because at these meetings they are only pressuring him because of the need to establish an heir. His assistant said that very effective medicines that can help have recently appeared in the capital. He is not sure that Felix will believe it, but there are many reviews about the effectiveness of these drugs. The assistant did not know that Felix had already tasted these drugs after stealing them. He never expected that he would decide to rob stores. It is a great shame for him and the whole family. Unfortunately, he did not feel any effect. He is probably the only one who was not helped by these medicines. He said that he was not going to believe the rumors about all these medicines, because even the aura did not help him to cure this problem. Now Felix Esperanza is really ready to give up and leave all attempts to cure his problem. Not long after, a man with red hair came to the gate of his estate. He was not allowed inside, but he was not going to go home. Logan is sure that as soon as Felix hears his name, he will immediately want to meet him. Before that, Logan told Philip about his plans. He said that he wanted to meet the Duke personally. It's a strange idea to go to the strongest Duke in the kingdom and tell him what he knows about his weaknesses. Philip warned that this could lead to trouble, so it was better to pretend that nothing had happened. On the one hand, Philip is really right. If that person that night really was the Duke, then this chance cannot be missed. That is why Logan took a risk and decided to go to the Duke's home. He was lucky because Felix allowed him to come to his estate and meet him. The chance to create a strong connection with one of the strongest people in the kingdom should be used. Logan was surprised. This man is almost 70 years old, but he looks much younger than his age. It turned out that Felix is familiar with the McLean house. He is surprised that Logan traveled such a long way to get here. The guy said that he opened his business in the capital and decided to bring the goods as a gift. These are magical medicines for men's health. Their effectiveness has been proven by many aristocrats. Felix pretended to be hearing about these drugs for the first time. Absolutely no reaction. Now Logan is not even sure that this thief was exactly Felix. Maybe it is necessary to enter from the other side. He explained that ordinary pills may not work for such a strong person, so Logan brought something special. Soon he finally saw a reaction. The boy guessed that ordinary pills had no effect on the phoenix. The poison in the monster's flesh, used in the current version of the medicine, has been neutralized to treat the dysfunction. Of course, this ordinary poison will not work on a super person. Therefore, after buying it, you can create a powerful concentrate. The version was called limited because the effect is much stronger than usual. If a normal person, without a core, takes this pill, they will die immediately. But the aura user will feel the result on the contrary. If Felix likes these drugs, he can get more, and of course Logan is ready to keep confidential. One day passed after this conversation, but in this case it was enough. Felix came to Logan with a smile on his face and said that he was ready to do everything in his power. This means that the medicine really worked perfectly, and this is a small but a victory. An aura master is a martial artist and force master who uses life energy. We can say with full confidence that Felix appreciated the result, the medicine worked, and over time he will be completely cured of his problem. His pain in the heart has come to an end. The medicine has a cumulative effect, so it will only get better with time. It was hard for him to believe that this young red-haired boy brought him a gift, and did not even remind him of the crime Felix had committed. That day, he saw in front of him the abilities of a swordsman. For such a young guy, it is really a good technique. Felix is sure that Logan is the owner of these incredible drugs. Felix said that he was ready to pay in full for this result, so there is a chance to ask him for a book on swordsmanship. Of course, after such a result, this would not be a problem, so the Duke agreed very quickly. He took out a book from the library and said that after the described training, the whole body will hurt, but the result will be very serious. Logan also asked to write him a letter confirming that Felix personally gave him this book. Now he got everything he wanted. He could get a lot more from the Duke, but his goal is completely different. It turned out that Felix is ready to personally teach his savior the technique of the sword. This is shocking news. Logan definitely did not expect to be taught by the greatest swordsman in the kingdom. A real jackpot that he had no right to refuse, so training soon began. Duke immediately made it clear that he was not going to give in to his opponent, and immediately activated his huge aura. This is what a true swordsman means. Even without a single blow, he can make his opponent suffer. During all these months of training, Logan also learned something. He is not going to give up without a fight. He will use inner strength to enhance the perception of the senses, so he has more than just muscle strength. After that, he will analyze what his body is capable of, because every time he tries to do something, the Duke's power stimulates the activation of the inner core. Felix immediately felt that opposite him is a really talented guy. He just needs to add some experience and technique. About the same experience that the Duke has, although to get something like that, you have to go through a huge number of battles. With the help of the first attack, the Duke was able to knock down his young opponent. This should be enough for the first training, otherwise you will have to consult a doctor. The Duke was not going to teach the boy anything he couldn't master. Just as Logan saw the full version of the aura's power, towards the end, Felix deliberately demonstrated everything he was capable of. Nevertheless, he is surprised that the boy remained alive. Some people are really lucky with natural talent. Now he would personally monitor the progress of this young warrior. It's time to rest a little. You can't train all the time. Thanks to the potion that Logan received from the Duke, his recovery was much faster. He said goodbye to Felix's servants and returned to his usual business. He pretended that he was fine, but as soon as he found himself in a deserted place, it immediately became clear that he was still not well. He couldn't use such an expensive potion to treat ordinary injuries. He gained much more than he lost, so in any case, he is happy with the result. They can really become friends. The main thing is to develop this relationship and not forget about communication. Suddenly, Philip approached Logan with quiet steps and scared him. He hoped that the meeting with the Duke had gone well, but judging by the blood on his lips, things had not gone exactly as planned. A week passed after these events, the medicine sold well, and almost 4 million gold coins were earned. If sales continue at the same pace, then they will really become incredibly rich. These two love money and money loves them, so it's a perfect balance. Philip should receive a bonus for sales this month, but he does not think about it. On the contrary, he is busy with work. The guy managed to set up the process of purchasing monster meat and offered the boss to buy a house in the capital. Considering the cost of living, it's a really good idea, but Logan won't be in the capital for long. Then you will have to leave here, even if you don't want to do it. Now Philip has to reassure the clients and assure them that soon new drugs will arrive and Logan will return home. In addition, he ordered his assistant to send money to the territories of Tesrin and McLean. He is going to feed all the inhabitants of those regions during the coming year. In fact, he does not really value all these people. He only does it because there is a need. After about a year, the McLean family's food supply problems would come to an end. Even despite the new territories, they will still be in the red due to bad land, so the work of people has an important role in this regard. Logan can't let them starve, so he has to spend extra money on them. After that, the red-haired boy went on an important business. He took the list and asked to find the people he needed. He does not know where they live and wants these people to be found by name, for which he is ready to pay handsomely. The boy expected that it would be difficult to find them, but there is no other option. He must collect all the independent supermen at any cost. Those who in the past life reached this level and did not join any organization. Each of them will have a big impact on the war against the Empire, so this is an important strategic mission. Rumors that Logan is looking for superhumans began to spread very quickly throughout the kingdom. Some people don't really like what Logan is doing, and this can lead to serious problems. To our main character, today he visited a new territory on important matters. He was greeted by a young man in cheap clothes. He was surprised to see such a visitor. At first it seemed that he was an aristocrat, but his clothes were too simple. He came to find some magic scrolls. Logan immediately took out of his pocket and showed his user certificate that he got from the Cooper's bank. When this guy saw the amount on Logan's balance, he couldn't believe his eyes. He had never seen anyone earn so much before, so he immediately said that he was taking Logan upstairs. Destruction magic is a ranged type earth spell for the fourth circle. Depending on the sorcerer's potential, this magic can even destroy a rock. Due to disadvantages such as the time it takes to activate and show signs of use, it is rarely used in battle. On the other hand, it is ideal for construction, so it can be used to speed up mine development. He came to buy 50 scrolls of annihilation from Radio's grade, the head of the Earth's magic tower. This man has never seen someone come with such a global order. They must not make much money in this place. The weakness of the trading partner can be an advantage for Logan. This should be used. In calm times, Earth magic is only used for farming and planting crops with trees. That is why it is surprising that an aristocrat spends a lot of money on all this delusion. In any case, Radios is very happy that this fool came to him and is ready to pay a lot of money for his product. There is one problem. To create a scroll of the 4th circle, you need at least a sorcerer with the 5th circle. There are no such specialists in this building right now, but Logan still doesn't understand what the problem is. He understood that he was trying to squeeze even more money out of him, so he got up and said goodbye to the sorcerer. He said that he wanted to buy 150 copies every month, and these words changed the situation. This means that in 6 months he will buy a huge number of magic scrolls. That is, he will pay a lot of money. The old man immediately began to beg Logan to stay and said that they would be able to satisfy such volumes of goods. In his mind, he was already calculating his potential earnings and imagined that he would buy himself a new Lamborghini Huracan. He immediately said that he would find the necessary wizards who would be able to help in this difficult task. Soon these sorcerers appeared to say hello to Logan. He gave his name and declared that now they will listen to him and follow his orders, something similar to slavery. Logan was unhappy because these people look like they are going to die of hunger, but the radio operator assured that everything is under control. They are real specialists. In fact, they turned out to be reliable. Logan immediately felt their inner strength and energy. Besides, they are young and talented. It is surprising that they were allowed to go to the countryside. Maybe this whole matter should be checked. Logan negotiated a price reduction and a handshake with his business partner. Now this old man will receive more than 1 million coins every month. A good pension. He immediately took out the contract from his pocket and said that they must sign it right now. Logan took his time with the contract. It seems that they want to deceive him. At that moment, a huge man with a beard ran into the room. His name was Clayton. Clayton is an unusual village farmer. He is a sorcerer of the 5th circle, and he does not like that his students are taken away from him again. Radios explained that this is necessary for an important cause. Talented followers are always needed for work. They need practice in order to make significant progress. He probably forgets that they are still children. Logan could not understand what was happening. He listened to this conflict and did not intervene. A little later, he realized that Clayton received the 5th circle at a very early age and became an elder. Probably the boss of the tower is worried about this, but he does not have the opportunity to conflict with the elder, so there are problems with followers. The internal conflict in the sorcerer's tower can play in Logan's favor. He got a very profitable contract. If Clayton is not going to listen to the orders of the head of the tower, then he can gather his followers and get away. Such words will not please anyone, especially an experienced sorcerer who can lose his temper in a second. A potential super battle of wizards is ahead of us. All that remains is to get the popcorn and get ready for something interesting. The students started panicking and shouting. They want to stop the 2 men. It is unlikely that they will succeed. Only Logan can stop this conflict. When they stopped, they saw that he was doing something on the table. At first, it seemed that he was drawing. A little later, everything became obvious. Logan signed the contract, so now there is no point in any conflict. As soon as the contract was signed, all 10 of these young wizards had to go with him. These 2 men, who so wanted to fight each other, may continue their conflict and even kill each other. The contract will remain valid even if the towers replace each other. Through their behavior, they have shown themselves on the bad side, but even that is not enough to stop them. Clayton said that he was not going to stay here and would leave with his followers. This immediately panicked Logan and Radius, who asked Clayton to think about the tower's reputation. Clayton replied that he was not going to ask for money for his work, only to help his students. They were touched by this behavior of their teacher. It is really nice. Thus, the next day, this whole big gang went on a long journey. The contract was not the expected luck, because hiring a sorcerer of the 5th circle would have been very expensive under other circumstances. But now Logan got it for free. It was at this moment, when Logan was thinking about his future plans, that Rena Wolves approached him. They haven't seen each other for a long time, but she still knows that Logan opened his own business. It seems that the McLean family has problems. The guy replied that he is a very ambitious person and always wants more, although in fact he wanted her to get away from him. The girl still wanted to remind that it was she who gave his family a large amount of money, which was enough for the annual budget. This girl is really very unpleasant. It is better to avoid meeting her as much as possible. Logan tried to run away, but she started talking about the feud war and said she had an interesting offer. Everyone around knows that Logan and his mercenaries use special weapons. Rena wants to buy them for her family. The heir of the McLean family replied that his weapon was not special at all, and unfortunately, he had to decline this offer. After that, he turned and immediately started to run away, because he could no longer continue the conversation with this woman. Surprisingly, even after he became famous after selling medicine, none of the aristocrats were interested in the feudal war. But Rena and her whole family show interest. It already makes you tense up. The crossbows are arranged in a fairly simple way, so he hopes to be able to use them a few more times. Soon he returned to the sorcerer Clayton and his young students. Very quickly, all the final preparations were made and they set off on a long journey. In order to transfer all things and people, we had to rent 3 large carriages. Clayton was unhappy with this decision and said it was a waste of money. Logan met such a proud sorcerer for the first time in his life. It will not be easy to become friends with him. It is especially necessary to take into account that this sorcerer decided to go with him for free. Their road is quite long, so they had to take a night break so that the horses could rest. Logan tried not to waste any extra time and immediately started meditating to improve his inner energy. At that moment, unknown people attacked him. They threw a knife at his head, but he managed to dodge, even with his eyes closed. This surprised these people. They have already heard various stories about Logan in the capital. They know that he made a lot of money selling medicine. The guy replied that he wanted to rest a little and meditate, and he doesn't like to be interrupted. That is why he took out his great sword and said that now he will show his technique in a real battle. One of these night thieves did not believe in his strength. He had to demonstrate everything in practice. These actions of the boy angered the other thieves, so a battle immediately began. During all these months, Logan never stopped his training and constantly improved his skills. This is why he has reached a high level of martial arts mastery, and now rarely has problems in normal battles. His aura has also become incredibly strong. Now with just a look he can make an opponent stop moving. I must remind you about training with the Grand Duke. Logan learned a lot from him. Now his sword technique deserves special attention and can be compared to that of knights. The concentration and compression of power through the new source generates an aura. He practiced this technique with Felix, and it seemed that it was still too early to use it, but it turned out that it worked perfectly. Using the power contained within the sword to forcefully overpower the enemy is characteristic of a pressure sword. This technique is really of high enough quality to use it in a real battle. Although she is considered cruel, sometimes cruelty is the only way out. Thus, within a few minutes, all the criminals who came to take Logan's money were defeated. It seemed that the time had come to relax, but at that moment it turned out that Clayton was standing next to the boy, and he looked quite tense. Maybe he thinks the boy's attitude towards criminals is too cruel. If Clayton refuses to cooperate, Logan could be in serious trouble. The sorcerer noted that the heir of the McLean family really has outstanding abilities. He doesn't know much about force users, but he's seen enough to understand how strong they are. So it seems the two have finally found common ground. Logan deliberately walked away from the camp so that no one would see him training, but Clayton found him anyway. The students of this sorcerer have a hard time. They didn't get the best teacher, but while they are all together, it would be great to study. The sorcerer wants them to have the possibility of short breaks during work, for additional training. Instead, he's ready to work even more energetically. It seems that these are good conditions. During the conversation with the sorcerer, Logan noticed an incredibly strong aura of the earth and began to search for its source. Probably this wizard really taught children different tricks at such an early age. Their nightly conversation was over and they went to rest. Since early morning, this team continued on their way to the McLean estate, and they soon reached their destination. Logan immediately decided to meet his father and tell him about his adventures in the capital. His journey benefited him, and he gained invaluable experience. Logan also said that the business is progressing quite well, and soon they will start making a lot of money, although his father has not heard any talk about any business. He thought that his son was doing completely different things in the capital, but now he realized that he was selling medicine for men. At this moment, Patrick remembered the promise not to interfere in his son's affairs, but asked him to take care of his family's reputation. In any case, Father took the news much better than Logan expected. He also said that he met the Duke and became friends with him. It seems that his father knows who Felix Esperanza is. Logan, with a smile on his face, told that they trained together, and that he sold him these special drugs. The reaction of the father was as one would like. He believes that all this can destroy the reputation of the McLean family. Then the boy said that Felix had given him a hidden medium-level sword technique, and that changed the direction of the conversation. Of course, this is a lie. Logan wrote this book himself while he was at the Duke's estate, but the technique is real. An imperial merchant discovered it in some ruins, and it described a mid-level sword technique. At first, the merchant rewrote the book and sold a few copies, but their contents leaked to the masses, and this information began to circulate freely among the people. The technique soon became a public achievement, and all the knights of the continent could learn about it. But all this would only happen 10 years later. If their knights start learning the technique right now, their level will increase significantly, and their opponents will have no chance. Father was really very surprised and even moved. He already forgot about his bad mood. Patrick began to be proud of his son and said that the traveling czars were really obliged to learn this technique. After that, he told his son that he should learn this technique personally, and Logan can rest for now. He left him in the study and asked Dwayne to help him with family decisions. Patrick would return when he too became a swordsman. Now in his hands is the seal of House McLean. While his father is gone, Logan will be the leader of the family. At that moment, Dwayne entered the room and began to shout and again demand money for the family. The amount they had was not enough for enough food, and also because of the war, they lost people and some important workers. That is why it is necessary to cover the hole in the budget again, otherwise the family will starve. In response, Logan only smiled and said that he had already spent all the money. Of course, it is strange. He said that he earned several millions. Did he manage to spend all this money in such a short period of time? The young generation does not know how to count. The boy explained that he spent money on wizards and various important things for the family. He also said that money for food will come to the family's account every month, so you cannot worry about it. That should be enough to feed all the people in the McLean area. And with all the other money, they will build a dam, and Logan is already proud of his decision. 2 weeks have passed. Let's move to the Tesron estate. The people are not satisfied because the aristocrats use them as tools. It's about the same mood at the McLean estate. It's farming season, but people have to work twice as hard, so nobody's happy. They are already thinking about rebellion and war with the aristocrats because they have no other choice. If they do not fight for their rights and defend their honor, they will die like ordinary slaves. All dissatisfied and ready to revolt gathered together to express their protest. Of course, there are not enough of them to win, but they still believe in their success. As soon as the gates opened, armed knights immediately went to meet them. In fact, this is not a battle at all, because the knights are going to give something to the common people. By order of the young heir of the family, all those who participate in hard work will receive a month's supply of grain for their entire family. Even now, the knights are ready to distribute these gifts, and this immediately changed the mood of the people. They were happy and began to pray for Logan's health. Now they have regained their trust in the McLean family. Thus, very quickly, the rebellion was stopped, and the people's trust returned to Logan. Aristocrats consider their people their property, but among them there are people with feelings who do their duty and protect their people. Logan was a mercenary in a past life, and because of this he understood that there is a difference in aristocrats. For ordinary people, they differ only in who takes more. Even his father thinks more of the knights than the common people as he sees them as the strength of the nation. Despite the lack of budget, the father maintained a knightly order with a large number of soldiers, and the people were not happy about it. The time has come to change the attitude towards these men and women and restore their trust. Dwayne was surprised. This young guy never ceases to amaze him lately. If true trust develops between these two, they will be able to achieve many successes for the family. Logan soon went to meet his construction assistants. They were shocked when they heard that he wanted to make a hole in the mountain. After that, he plans to release water from the river there, and even make a sluice. The guy knows that this plan is real, so he orders to carry out everything on his behalf. The McLean territory is surrounded by mountains, their lands are barren, and even small mountains in the north block the passage of the river to the south. That is why he wants to make a big hole in the northern mountains, so that the flowing water will pass through them. The dwarf thinks that it would be more logical to do it a little differently, digging that tunnel under the mountain. Plan replied that he had already calculated everything, and you cannot worry about it. His technique is called a reservoir in the west, but this method of water control would not become popular in the empire until 20 years later. The principle of operation has been known for a long time, and we must not forget that he has at his disposal the master of the dwarf and the sorcerer of the fifth circle. If these two succeed in their tasks, they will turn the desert in the west of the territory into a true paradise on earth. In any case, they still need to carefully choose the right place. It is important to analyze the state of the land and other nuances, the dwarf believes. The sorcerer did not expect that this plan of action could be implemented. Now these two will not be able to take back their words, so they will have to complete this difficult task. They have only just begun work, and Logan allows them to choose a mountain that is perfect for the task. It is not known whether they will be able to cope with this mission, but in any case it is necessary to try. You can't do without sorcery in this case, although if Logan is personally present, then everything should go smoothly. The sorcerer began his work. All around could only watch with open mouths at his technique. The dwarf asked him to be more careful and not show his full power, but Clayton did not hear him. In addition to strength, people can absorb such extraordinary energy as mana. In the past life, Logan could only feel a little of it, but now everything is different. The power of the earth comes from the circle of mana in the sorcerer's heart. He stimulates this energy with a spell. It's hard to even believe that you can see it with your own eyes. Surely the power core developed Logan's senses. This sorcerer is really a master of his craft. Now it is obvious that sorcerers of the fifth circle are on another level. They can collect stones and turn it into a real monster. It is amazing that such a large golem can be created in seconds without tools. If you make several such monsters, you can speed up the pace of work. In addition, it can help increase the combat power of the army, which is also important. That is why the boy approached the sorcerer and began to ask him to make more such monsters. It turned out that his students also know how to create golems. They learned this in early childhood. Of course, there are some problems. The spell form to create a golem core is only available to the 5th circle of sorcerers. This is why students need mana stones, but even so they will produce small and weak golems. A mana stone is the same mineral as orichalcum or mithril. It holds the natural energy of mana, which makes it rare. It is impossible to artificially create it. It is quite expensive, since it is most often used to help with spells or the creation of artifacts. Mana stones are not economically profitable, although in war money is not important, because the main thing is victory. With a mana stone, monsters will become much stronger, so this is an important artifact. Of course, given that the sorcerer has a 5th circle, he will have to find a mana stone of the highest quality, and this is not easy. Even for weak monsters, you will have to find a low-level stone. This will be enough for 24 hours of the monster's life. A low-level mana stone costs like a piece of gold. The value for money is pretty bad. For a short war like last time, monsters like this would be very useful, so there is something to think about. Soon Dwayne and the other people saw the golem for the first time. Of course they were shocked. It seemed that this monster came to destroy their land, but in reality he was trying to help. Logan explained that these monsters are needed to create a tunnel, but Dwayne was still scared and said that Patrick should be told about it. They will build 3 large structures. The tunnel and dam will have to be built from the very beginning. After that, they will be able to proceed to the construction of a water channel that will deliver water from the river to every corner of the McLean territory. Of course, you should not forget about the cave. There are already results for the entire time that Logan was absent, because the workers hardly had any rest. After returning to the capital, he was busy with the construction of the dam, so he did not follow the work in the cave at all, but it should be fixed tomorrow. The next day, he immediately left to analyze the results of the work in the cave. He immediately met the dwarf and began a serious conversation with him, because he was dissatisfied with some nuances. Hamar got angry and started shouting, "He is responsible for many objects and is ready to die rather than work at this pace. The dwarf has been dreaming of rest for a long time, and I remind you that without him, all this would be impossible. He is not going to do everything for others, so he wants to be treated fairly." Logan assured that he greatly appreciates his help and knows that he is a key employee of this project. Now he will deal with all organizational work. It turned out that this news angered the dwarf even more. They tried to relieve him of all duties. The heir of the family suggested not to worsen their relationship, and assured that he would definitely organize a vacation for all employees. Hamar was forced to agree to these conditions, although Logan behaved too insolently. Now the mine will build faster than in the previous life, although there may be problems with the dam. Logan returned home and decided to contact Philip Cloud, so he knew that the building materials would be delivered without any problems. In addition, they easily agreed on other materials for a large amount of money each month. After the work with the mine and clearing the land is completed, the area will be completely changed, and Philip will come to visit. They also began to discuss rumors that the main family of the kingdom was having problems. Logan learned about it during training at the Sword Duke's house, although the details are unknown, but the matter seems serious. Judging from past life memories, the king must die next winter and civil war will begin. The information that Logan possessed in the past life may not be relevant, but if the death of the king is really not expected, then everything will be like in the past life. The main thing is to prepare for this event in advance. The McLean house will take part in a war that will turn the order in the kingdom upside down. He ordered Philip to put money into a reserve fund and to buy a lot of weapons and armor so that there would be enough for a real army. Philip was shocked and said that this was not a child's task at all, and he would not want a civil war in the first place. Sometimes this guy becomes really unbearable. He is impossible to listen to. It is necessary to minimize the conscription and strengthen the knights and ordinary soldiers. Arming weak soldiers is a special part of the plan, and Philip must accept it. Their wealth will be maintained by the mine. Food will be supplied by the new dam. So now there is only war to worry about. The main preparations for the important sprint forward are moving forward slowly and surely. Soon it was time to meet with Dwayne again to read and sign a large number of documents. Logan replied that he was not going to read such a large amount of text and was ready to sign everything immediately. It turned out that the work of the Lord is not a very easy task. Many important issues have to be resolved. Dwayne used to do all this, but now he decided that Logan should help him. At that moment, Kai entered the room and said that a very important and urgent matter had arisen. It became a real shock for the young heir of the family, because he learned that the hammer was stuck in a mine that collapsed. This is about 50 meters of tunnel that collapsed, so it is difficult to understand exactly the location of the dwarf. While they were talking, Dwayne tried to understand where the mine came from in their territory, but now there is no time to explain everything to him. The heir of the family immediately went to the mine in order to start the search. One of the workers tried to explain everything to him, but Logan did not listen to him and confidently went forward. Real darkness and the unknown await him ahead, but he is not afraid of it. Having gone into the depths of this mine, he finally saw the main problem. Touching the stones with his hand, he was able to see what was happening on the other side. It became clear that not only the dwarf was there, but also the other 10 workers, although they escaped the worst, but still suffered. It takes about 3 days of work to clear the passage, and that's if everything goes perfectly. Even the strongest dwarf in the world can't last that long in this hellish place. The more time passes, the less chance of survival. These people need to be saved right now, and Logan has one idea how to do it. He ordered to immediately call Clayton and his students to him, and soon they met. There is no time for idle talk, which is why they immediately got down to business, and Logan explained what the problem was. He promised a large compensation for the help, if of course it was alive. Hearing that there are many people who are in danger, Clayton immediately promised to help. They immediately set off for the mine and began their wizardry. While Clayton holds the tunnel, his students must use golems to clear the rocks. They already have mother stones in their hands to create monsters. Very quickly the process was started, and real monsters were formed from ordinary stones. It is hard to believe that these young people are already so educated and hardworking. Now a lot depends on speed. Time works against them. People were surprised that an aristocrat helps them with his own hands in order to save those who are lower in rank. No one would believe in this story if they did not see it with their own eyes. Soon they were finally able to find the dwarf. It was obvious that he was in a difficult condition. Probably the dwarf and other workers who were stuck in the mine who lost consciousness due to shock. It was very lucky that their injuries were not very serious and they were saved. All this happened because the dwarf worked a lot. He should have rested much earlier. Soon his condition improved, and he assured that the work was not difficult, and he would be able to return in a few days. It turned out that Logan wants him to rest and regain his strength, and only then return to work. In this case, he will have to really agree to these conditions and finally feel the sweet taste of rest. Magic is an amazing power. With its help, it was possible to complete the rescue operation in just 2 hours. Clayton said that the mine is really extraordinary. It's strange to watch this wizard say ordinary things with such an aggressive expression on his face. He probably found out about the gold in this mine. There will be a lot of problems if others find out about it. They did everything possible to save the hamster, because without him this work would be impossible. In the future, they will need a lot of money to prepare for war, so now it is important to develop all these directions in parallel. Clayton decided to find out if Logan wanted to build a magic tower on his property again. The wizard thinks it's time to open his own business, and in his opinion, this place can support a small magical tower. It didn't look like the man was joking, so Logan immediately replied that that would be perfect. His students will stay with him and will live in this tower. He needs everything necessary for his work, and he hopes for Logan's help. In this way, they agreed on a new direction for the development of the McLean territory. A week has passed since that conversation, and now the hamster has fully recovered from his injury and is ready to return to the tunnel. He will try to compensate for the delay and make up for lost time. We can only wish him luck. Later, Dwayne came to the young owner of the family. He has been dreaming of hearing about the mine for a long time, because no one tells him anything. He wants to understand when Logan began to secretly develop this mine, and why he did not tell him about all this. The guy replied that he completely forgot to do it, and explained that there is a lot of gold in this mine. According to modest calculations, it should bring 100 million gold coins a year, and this is not a joke at all. Dwayne almost passed out after hearing this story, so aside from a small incident, the plan is progressing successfully. The workers constantly talked about the plans of the aristocrats. They tried to understand why the new collection was organized. It seems as if the construction of the dam has been completed, although according to the plan, the work should be completed only in 3 months. Rumor has it that this meeting is needed for a final check. When everyone gathered, it was time to start analyzing the project. Some believe that it would be better to spend all this money on repairing the southern wall. Not everyone is happy with this project, and therefore they are trying to understand that Dwayne knows about all this. It turned out that this dam will not only help with water issues, but it is also connected to the underground part of Luthra. If it is possible to constantly provide water to the canal, then this entire area can become a true paradise on Earth. Everyone participated in the construction, from ordinary workers to young wizards. Even the managers came. All settings have been completed. The launch of the dam should be remembered for a lifetime. Logan wants to show everyone in McLean's territory that this building was made for their happiness. Some people saw real monsters for the first time, so there was panic for a while. A little later, Clayton ordered the monsters to open the gates of the dam, and the process was launched. So far, nothing works. For some reason, these monsters do not want to obey their master. All this is not at all part of the plan, and the reputation of the heir of the family may suffer. That is why he ordered to break down the gate immediately. It is a rather strange decision, but it is an order. Clayton immediately had his monsters destroy the gate, though it was no easy task. Soon, finally, everyone around saw water and was happy. Logan was more than happy about this. His old dream finally came true. Now they finally have water, they will be able to get it with the help of this dam, and their whole lives will change. There should be no more problems with food during the Civil War. Then Logan approached his assistants and said that the gate could not be restored yet. Dwayne ran up to Logan and started hugging him with tears in his eyes. He admitted that he was wrong about this boy before. Then Logan approached his assistants and said that it is better not to restore the gate in the dam. At least not yet. At first, it is better to focus your attention on completing the work in the mine. After that, you can rest. Many farmers will come to these areas in order to start work here. Of course, it will be difficult for them to come here from the city every day, so it is necessary to build a new village in which they can live. Logan wants the dwarf to handle this process, although he likes working in the mine much more. As they gathered to open the floodgates, Logan made 2 promises to the workers. He said that anyone can work on these McLean lands, and they also get tenant rights with a small percentage of taxes. Now their rights will change. After this reform, even the vassals will not be against it. 4 more weeks passed after the opening of the dam, and work continued in other areas. The dwarf was able to finish planning the city and modeling the houses very quickly. Logan really chose the right dwarf. The roads will be interconnected, and the distance between the houses will remain the same. Each section will have common wells and toilets. There will be a sewer outside the city so that you can throw garbage there. It is difficult to calmly think about the future when you feel how your servant smells bad. Medicines are probably in great demand. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't have to suffer so much. A little later, Dwayne reported that the Hammer sent a message about the start of development of a mine with gold. They were already able to get rare gold stones from the cave. Usually they have to be extracted in small quantities from minerals. This time they found ready-made specimens, and this is a very good sign. Dwayne immediately began kissing the dwarf and thanking him for helping their family. Logan also thanked the helpers and said that it is too early to rest, because we need to make additional crossbows for the knights. Of course, the dwarf could not be happy with this news, but he has absolutely no other choice but to obey the Lord's will. After a small conversation, Logan still allowed the dwarf to rest for a few days. As soon as the dwarf heard these words, he immediately said goodbye and ran away to his house. Meanwhile, Dwayne couldn't calm down and continued to cry from happiness. He was already counting the profits from the gold in his mind. Probably he should be explained that the mine belongs to Logan, and he is not going to share it with anyone. Of course, he will pay 30% of the tax, but he will pocket the rest. It is also necessary to ensure that workers do not talk too much. News about the mine should not spread throughout the kingdom. Dwayne said that he would personally deal with this issue and would follow the constitutionality. Patrick McLean could also be a problem. His son has done a lot while he's been out of practice. A week later, the family lord returned and immediately met his son. During all this time, he made great progress and became a professional knight. This is exactly what Logan was expecting when he gave him the technique of the Sword of Iron Blood. His skills had made great progress in just 3 months, even though this progress had not been made for nearly 10 years. The father knows that his son has done a lot in his absence. He is happy that water has finally appeared in this desert. It makes his heart beat faster. He noted that all this would not have been possible without Logan, and he is pleased that his son has changed so much. All these are only recent achievements, although everything Logan has done in 3 months is more important than Patrick's actions in a lifetime. Patrick said that he was ready to give the leadership of the house to Logan, at least for a while he trained the knights. Of course, the young heir of the family did not plan to become a lord, although his father had completely different thoughts. During all this time, he felt that he was getting old, even though he was able to learn the basics of the iron blood sword technique. The hidden technique was completely beyond his body. If Patrick had started studying it in his youth, when his power had awakened, things would have turned out differently. With the current power that has built up its flow over a large number of years, it won't even be able to create a core. As he abandons all these youthful hopes, he believes that the time has come for his children to take over the leadership of the McLean lands. Thanks to this, he will finally be able to break through the barrier that has hindered him for many years. The time has come to step aside and give opportunities to the younger generation, to teach those who will pave the way for others. After a short thought, Logan agreed. He must have done it because he had no choice. Now it's time to talk to the stepmother. She must also step forward. The father ordered his eldest son to come to her and listen. Marion admits that Logan's achievements are enough to recognize him as a reliable family heir. Previously, she wished success only to her son, and therefore fought with Logan. It doesn't make sense for him to apologize anymore because he did it before. She didn't accept his apology because of her character, but she hopes that he will understand her. Marion is very pleased that Logan decided to teach her son the art of the sword. Perhaps all this is due to the genius of the Ronin, because after only a week of training, he had already created his own core of power. For many years, the mother had not seen her son as happy as now. She asks Logan to continue to take care of the Ronin, because he will remain his younger brother in the future. That was the end of their conversation. It was a big step forward in their relationship. Finally, Logan asked to talk to him without formalities in the future, just like in childhood. Today, he called her his mother for the first time, and Patrick couldn't help but be happy after hearing the words. Thus, the conversation was completed. We can safely say that this is a big step forward in communication with the family. When the construction of the city is completed, the process of clearing and reclaiming the land for farmers will begin. There is hope that the impression will be much bigger than the one before. The main thing is that the residents agree to move to the new city. Logan plans to share ownership with those people who will move to this city. Besides, these houses are better in quality, which is a big plus. Recruitment for knights has also begun. If they join the regular army, Patrick will be able to teach them new techniques. On the one hand, the father is satisfied with his son's work, but he learned only today that they now have 2 orders of knighthood. The Knight MacLean, as well as those who joined their side after the defeat of the Thesrons in the feudal war, formed a new order. Although they are under their leadership, they still behave as rivals, and this is not a good sign. Patrick understands that it is difficult to get closer to someone with whom he previously fought not for life, but for death. But he hopes that they understand what he is doing. A knight is a man of honor. He wants to see in them a thirst for progress, because when he trained, he was always ready to die in order to become better. His son is also constantly working for the advancement of the territory, so it is hard for them to see when the knights behave like little children. Previously, Patrick was too inattentive to them, and takes full responsibility for it. It's time for a change. The general of the Knight Order has an idea. He has already learned that Patrick has made progress in the art of the sword. That is why at first he wants to deal with the discipline of knights and teach them the art. They will not have time for stupid thoughts, because they will tire themselves to death in training. For 20 years in management, Dwayne could not even think that signing documents could make him happy. We have to think about the fact that there is not enough money for food, although not everyone understands that Logan makes their life better. Some still doubt his skills and consider him too young to rule the territories. Although when Dwayne saw where Logan was trying to spend the money, he also began to worry. It turned out that the young lord wanted to buy mithril, about 100 kilograms, had to make Dwayne sign all these papers. Logan's goal is quite simple. He wants to buy mithril to equip the knights, although Philip thinks it is impossible. It turned out that this precious metal cannot be bought only by receiving a lot of money. Mithril holds a large charge of magnesium. It is 10 times stronger than steel and 3 times lighter than steel. It is often even called the silver of the gods. Such jewels cannot be bought only thanks to money. Ordinary people cannot get mithril, especially such a large-scale order. So it's not just about money. It's about massive public influence. And Logan has an idea for that. Soon, the employees of the wealthy house received a request from the countryside, from the MacLean house. They decided to report this to the Duke, even though he was usually busy. Half an hour later, the Duke was informed of a message from the MacLean family. Felix had not seen Logan for a long time. The young heir of the family greeted his friend and said that he had an important business. He began to say various pleasant words to the Duke. This guy knows how to negotiate with influential people. Logan was surprised when he heard that the Duke wanted to thank him, although it seemed that it was only sarcasm. Soon it turned out that there was no hint of a joke here, because the Duke's wife became pregnant. It was really extremely pleasant news, and Logan perfectly understands that he put his efforts into this, even if only partially. Pepper thanked for all the pills he got from Logan and said they made him believe in miracles. When the child is born, Logan must come to the capital because the Duke's wife also wants to personally thank him. While he's in the capital, the Duke will be able to teach him another sword technique, which is another good news. Duke has no more news. Now he wants to hear why Logan called him. The reason is quite simple. This talented guy wants help to buy mithril, about 100 kilograms to create a knight's gear. To begin with, you need to make sure that there is enough money for this, although the drugs are probably selling well and bring great profits. The Duke doesn't invest that much money in his knights, so he underestimated Logan's generosity. Soon he promised to take care of this matter and help. Felix is a really good person. After that, he asked not to call him Duke, but rather to address him as mentor. When Logan has everything ready, he should call again, and then mithril will be bought. We can confidently say that this is another small victory on the way to great success. Now you can go to the Hamar and talk about mithril gear. The case is really going great. Every day the problem is solved, and it seems that a happy future awaits the MacLean family. Moving to the outskirts of MacLean's estate, these young men have come to gain opportunities to become knights and pass a simple test. Dwayne isn't sure that it's necessary to hire so many workers. Usually you don't need a huge number of knights in the army. No matter what anyone says, it is necessary to build up one's own capacity. The Order of Knights is a symbol of the power of the territory. They protect the lands from enemies and keep the peace of ordinary people. Only the most talented of all are accepted, and then these guys undergo rigorous training to become true knights. Then they awaken the awakening powers and become heroes. But the Empire has a new theory, and they decide to approach this issue differently. Now it is believed that physical naturalness and the awakening of power are two different directions. They are more important than the senses. Due to this theory, the Empire used the power of many thousands of knights in war to destroy neighboring countries 9 years later. They gathered all the soldiers and reselected them to form a squad of apprentice knights. This would cause problems during the grandiose civil war that would begin in a year, although 9 years later it would help them in the war with the Empire. Previously, the selection of soldiers was very simple. They were ordered to run forward, and only the fastest began to be taught knighthood. So this rough selection was based only on physical strength. It is not surprising that the number of knights did not increase all these years. Now it is necessary to accept people with developed vision, hearing, and quick reaction. It is time to change the rules of the game. Young children were told to go forward until they saw the image in front of them. Although it looks like a rather strange activity, Logan is sure that it will lead to progress. It turned out that some children can see drawings from a great distance, which immediately speaks of their talents. The second test will test their hearing. They must walk forward until they hear what Dwayne is saying. Some did not hear anything, but there were children who could hear words even at a great distance. Some even heard that Dwayne was talking to himself. Such talents are definitely needed in the regular army. Almost 250 boys have passed this test. All of them have excellent results, but it is still necessary to find twice as many students. Among them are many children who obviously do not eat enough and do not develop enough. It will be difficult to create future warriors from them. But if you try to help them, then after a while you can get good results. Back to Victor, this guy continues to train hard despite the weather and fatigue. Logan told him that if he perfected the 1,000 sword technique, he could become a knight, though Victor thinks it's better to awaken his power. He wants to become a knight much faster because he believes that their master can abandon them at any moment. In fact, Logan didn't even think about something like that. He sees the boy's talent and is ready to give him any time. The boy is already 16 years old. He has only studied the art of the sword for a year, but he maintains the correct basic stance even with sudden changes in position. In addition, it is immediately noticeable that his speed and reaction are much faster than those of his peers. His martial art is still similar to that of an aristocratic assassin, although his character is changing. This guy will need to find a training partner soon. Tomorrow, Logan plans to leave the estate and go to train soldiers in Tezrun. Most likely this will continue until winter. He is ready to offer Victor to go with him. The boy would be happy, but only if they take Rhea with them. Logan said that taking a girl to a place where there are a lot of men around is not a good idea. However, Victor still remained confident that he wanted to take her with him. He usually seems like an adult, but sometimes he starts behaving like a small child. I had to agree to his terms, but if something happens, he will be fully responsible for these actions. The boy assured that he would watch his sister carefully, so everything would be fine. This boy has no other family, so he is very worried about her, especially after his parents died because of his fault. Now he is obliged to protect his sister because she is all he has. A few days after that, they went to the main estate of Tezrun. Kai began training the children. He ordered them to run around the walls of the estate and develop their stamina. The training conditions were quite tough. The children need some time to get used to it. Kai immediately announced that they did not come here to play games, but to become real men. Logan likes to work with experienced people. He is sure that the role of an instructor is perfect for this one-eyed pirate. Recently, Logan offered his main knight to renew his contract. This was good news for Kai. This experienced warrior already guessed that a war would break out in the coming years, because Logan wants to upgrade his weapons and equipment. The heir to the head of the family explained that he is not going to start a war, although sometimes it cannot be avoided. Among all the children who came to this area to become knights, Victor was the most talented. Other children could not understand what he was made of. It was as if this person was from another world. They used to insult him as a slave because of his past, but now he makes them look at himself from a different side. This gives children additional motivation to work, and their experienced supervisors cannot help but be happy. Victor is noticeably getting stronger. It's not long until he awakens. Then he will become one of the strongest in the army. Logan does not even suspect that in the near future, despite his hopes, Victor will kill a person. After active classes, children had the opportunity to rest and eat. They have already begun to notice that they are gaining weight during these few weeks of being in this place. Victor and his sister Rhea began the process of integration into this community. The girl looks quite beautiful, so other guys treat her with respect. And not only that, some even dream of talking to her and becoming friends, although they should be more careful with their wishes. Ria has her own brother who will always watch over her and will not allow anyone to offend her. Victor was always an energetic guy. As soon as he saw that his sister had gone somewhere, he tried to find her. He went outside to give her some delicious buns, and he noticed something scary. Coming to a dead end, he saw that some man was trying to molest his sister. The guy immediately forgot about everything in the world. Now only his sister exists for him, because she is all he has left. He is not going to forgive anyone even the slightest violation of her personal boundaries. With the first blow, he broke the man's nose and knocked out several teeth. This man got angry and called him a slave. He tried to get up and retaliate, but instead received several more punches in the face. At first, Ria tried to stop her brother, but then she realized that it was better not to do it. He became so angry that he could no longer stop and continued to beat the man until he died. At this moment, he only thought about his sister. He had to worry and take care of her no matter what. He had no idea that he was being secretly watched. Soon everyone around him would know about this incident. A little later, he saw a shadow above him and turned his head to understand who was approaching him from behind. It turned out that Logan was standing behind him. He asked Victor to calm down and stop. His sister was immediately taken away from this street. Her psyche may not be able to withstand such a shock. The Lord also ordered the body of the dead boy to be taken away, and then he was left alone with Victor. The guy explained that he does not regret his act at all, although he is ready to apologize. He apologizes because he killed one of the soldiers without permission and understands that it is bad. Logan reminded that all this happened because of Victor's stupid wishes. He was the one who ordered his sister to go with him, although he understood that it could be dangerous. Because of his stupid desires, she almost got hurt, so constantly taking her with him and protecting her is not the best option. It will not be possible to take her with him to the battlefield. Logan allowed this to happen only so that Victor would understand something. Now this little guy has to make a decision that might change him forever. Victor is ready to accept any punishment, but Logan is in no hurry to punish him. He did kill a man, but he trained well today, so next time he'd better ask for permission to kill. No matter how strange it sounds, Victor accepted it and promised to change his attitude. Kai is unhappy that students are killing other soldiers. He thinks this is unforgivable. As for the person who died, this is a guy who, according to rumors, was constantly behaving badly. As for coming here, he was trying to lure Ria, so he deserved to be severely punished. It will be necessary to say that Victor acted according to Logan's order, and then it will be possible to avoid problems. A little later, Logan marked an interesting area on the map. He is preparing a secret mission for the soldiers. The news that Victor had killed a man shocked the others, although they were already afraid of this guy. Although after the details of the crime became known, most of the students sided with Victor. The incident was over very quickly. Logan did everything perfectly. Time passed very quickly. The next 3 months passed as if in 3 days. Currently, more than 1,000 students are participating in the training. Only a small part of them did not cope with the workload. Now everyone is really in great shape and making a lot of progress. Only those guys left who have sufficient stamina and energy. Basic training is almost complete. Logan asked Hamar to make additional crossbows. There won't be enough for everyone, but it's enough to conduct combat training. Before that, Logan talked to his father. Patrick advised the forest near the mountains as an ideal place for such training. The time has come. Knights must train and experience real practice. They have learned the basics of the Iron Blood Sword, though true mastery only comes in actual combat. Logan completely agrees with these words. Abilities can only improve when you train them in real conditions. It seems that these two have sold their souls to Satan. It's hard to even look at them. Several days have passed since this conversation. Let's move to the forest near the mountains in the territory of McLean. The warriors were ordered to raise their swords and control their breathing. Today they must demonstrate what they are capable of. At first, their task was quite simple. They had to make trees with their blows, and it worked. Everyone around is pleased to see that months of hard training are bearing fruit, so this is the true power of the Sword of Iron Blood. Logan asked the knights and students not to relax because there are many scary things in this forest. Here you can find real monsters, especially a large number of goblins. Soon they met and had to demonstrate their talents in practice. It turned out that goblins are not scary at all. At least not as scary as they were told. These are quite primitive creatures without special strength. If you go through full training, then they are easy to defeat. It is especially easy to win with crossbows, but in this forest there are somewhat more terrible lost ones. Soon everyone saw that big horned wolves were approaching them, so now it was time for real tests. These are not goblins at all. They are much stronger and more aggressive than these green monsters. If you act in a coordinated manner, like a real team, even they can be defeated. Although to begin with, it will be necessary to spend a lot of strength and energy, because ordinary arrows do not pierce the skin of animals. Today, these future knights are looked upon by the most respected people in McLean territory, so they have no right to fail. Victor walked ahead of everyone and tried to demonstrate all his talents. It seemed as if his star time had come. Soon, Logan saw that some students were having problems, so he had to personally take part in the battle. As expected, difficulties arise among the children when unexpected things begin to happen. Those who are in the top 100 when testing the senses immediately stand out from the rest. Although Victor showed himself best of all today, he is like a real predator in the jungle. His actions are very confident, his speed is extraordinary, and his strength is also at a high level compared to his peers. Everyone around sees his progress and begins to really fear this boy with multicolored eyes. It is obvious that soon he will be awakened, and he will enter the realm of the aura user. Soon it was time for the experienced knights to do some work as well. On their side, they also performed their task flawlessly, so experienced warriors are not far behind the young. It's been a month and a half since they started training, and they've improved all their skills. They found 3 cities where there were thousands of monsters, but now you cannot be afraid of all these places, because everything around has been cleared. All this became a reality only with the help of Logan. He was able to predict these events. He continued to lead the soldiers and ordered them to cut down trees that would be needed to build houses. This process has already been going on for a month and a half. Some of the knights are not satisfied, because they did not study the technique of the sword before this. Logan doesn't pay any attention to them. He trained the soldiers and found a tree for the city. That is, he killed 2 birds with 1 stone. There were a lot of monsters around, so I had to wait, and now everything is behind me. Some candidates who were among the best in testing have now made great progress. Someone showed a special talent for survival, and someone showed leadership qualities. In any case, Logan is satisfied. Now there is enough wood to complete the construction of the city of McLean. Spring is only 1 month away. Hamar said that he will try to make it, although it will be very difficult for him. Wizards should help him in this difficult task. Besides, the workers are quite motivated after the construction of the dam. There is enough food, there are no problems with money in between, so everything goes quite quickly. It's hard for Logan to even understand if this dwarf has always been so reliable. Sorcerers also work tirelessly. Their help is always needed in construction. Clayton is a true master of his craft. Without him and his assistants, it would be impossible to do this. Logan thanked them for their help. Soon a magical tower would be built on this site. In addition, he promised annual aid in the amount of 10 million. That is why it does not matter in what place and what size this tower will be. If everything goes according to plan, this city will become the center of the entire region and will even be larger than Tezron. People will have a place to live and a way to grow food, so everyone will be happy. Of course, the city is small, and there will be a large number of people who will want to live here, so there is a risk of rebellion. Of course, that won't happen if you don't engage in exploitation, although this guy might have problems with that. Also, Logan hopes that this land will not be a place for future wars. He wants people to live here peacefully and calmly. In the evenings, when everyone went to bed and rested, Logan did not forget about training. He tried not to waste time and to speed up his combat progress as much as possible. He soon discovered the second form of the divine sword's secrets, a cut that pierced iron. Time passed very quickly. Another month passed since that training, and then another. The city of McLean was built day and night, and the first families finally got the opportunity to settle into a house. It was nice to see tears of joy in the eyes of those people. They could not believe that they really got free houses. At this rate, the time of summer came. Logan tried not to slow down and continued to work diligently. Dwayne said that the development of urban land is proceeding at the right pace. The only drawback is that they do not have enough male labor for such a large amount of land. Hamar is still on vacation. This time he decided to take a long rest, so he won't be back soon. It seems that Logan has been treating him too well lately, although this dwarf really does his job flawlessly. Before going on vacation, the hamster got a lot of mithril, and Dwayne heard about it. The dwarf received this metal in order to have a job even on vacation. It is necessary to make weapons for knights. So, the hamster is not completely resting. We can say that for a dwarf, a rare metal is a real dream. In any case, the construction of the city is completed, and there are no problems with its development. Meanwhile, Viscount Max Parita is unhappy that the McLeans are taking over the wasteland. He had already learned that changes had taken place in their territory, although they did not have enough money, but now these lands are flourishing. According to rumors, at first the heir of the family made a lot of money in business. Then he found a gold mine and decided to change everything. Max replied that he is not interested in rumors. He pays attention only to the facts, and wants to know how many crops McLean will grow on the land. With modest calculations, it can be understood that the harvest of the McLean family will be twice as much as that of Max Parita. When a neighboring area starts making a lot of money, you can't sit idly by. Some residents from their territory went to the city of McLean just to see what was inside. Max Parita will probably want to take all these lands as compensation, but it is dangerous to do it with his own hands. First, you need to get in touch with Viscount Sylvan. They also have high taxes, so they must have lost some of the city's residents as well. Now the two windows want to unite in order to take over McLean's territory. Meanwhile, Logan met with his father and told them that they had chosen 300 of the best warriors and were training them separately. He hints that they are all ready to become future knights. At least he hopes so. On the other hand, there are too many of these guys, even if they are constantly trained. After many years, not all of them will be able to exert their strength. Logan said that he is not going to change his plans and will continue to maintain the current training system. He wants to bring even more soldiers into the army every year, although his decision now seems strange. Their family is now at the stage of development. If it expands a lot, it can provoke neighboring territories. Logan immediately explained that neighboring territories will want to capture them, even if they do not expand. The city of McLean is fully operational. The wasteland has become a paradise, and the territory of Sylvan and Perith will not wait. They will attack. There are enough reasons to do it, although it does not seem obvious to everyone. Logan reminded that recently they accepted a huge number of refugees who left from neighboring territories. This is enough to attack and declare war, although Dwayne believes that countermeasures should be taken immediately. Only now did the father realize that his son had planned to start a new war from the very beginning. This is logical because in any case you will have to compete with these enemies. So far, the opinions of the second heir of the family are not accepted by other members of the meeting. The father believes that he transferred power to his son too soon, but it is better not to make hasty conclusions. Rick ran into the room and said that the neighboring territories had sent their representatives, so everything indicates that the war will begin soon. Now Logan felt confident in his abilities again. He was right, and now he is ready to talk about strategy. Representatives of neighboring areas were already in the new city of McLean. They looked around with surprised expressions on their faces, and you can understand them. They had never seen such cities before. The houses were carefully built next to a wide road, and this was not the only plus. Ordinary people are too unusually joyful and happy, although this city does not resemble a metropolis, but it feels fresh. Seeing all this, they realize that this city really deserves to be captured, although it will be very, very difficult to do so. They soon entered the main manor to start a conversation with the McLean family. They are ready to immediately go to work and demand the return of refugees, and not only that. In order to prevent such situations from occurring in the future, they want to be given control over the Tezron territory. In other words, these fools want a large estate and half the lands, that is, they want war. Logan predicted all these events in advance, and now everyone around understands what this case is approaching. These foreigners began to be accused of wanting to fight, and were warned that the McLean family would not tolerate it. Representatives of Pareto and Sylvan believe that they can easily destroy the McLean family, and warn about it immediately. Probably these people forgot about their duties as aristocrats. It's time to remind them about it. The knights took out their weapons and said that there was no point in negotiations. These representatives were shocked. They could not believe that the McLean family was ready to go to war. Logan took out his sword and said that he would not allow anyone to speak to them from a position of power. The representatives of the neighboring territories immediately ordered their guards to act and attack all the young brats. They still think he is a child, even though this boy has long since become an adult. He easily, in just a few seconds, destroyed all the guards of these people. If they dared to get their swords in someone else's territory, they should prepare to die. Logan is tired of empty talk. Now for any disrespect he will punish, severely punish. One of the representatives was killed. Logan decided to leave the other alive so that he could tell about what happened to his masters. Patrick McLean raised his hand and ordered the knights to prepare for all-out war. On the same day that the ambassador of the Sylvan family was killed, McLean sent a magical message to both viscounts. Soto Sylvan could not believe what he heard. It seemed to him that the McLean family had lost their minds. They not only killed their representative, but also ordered to send them moral compensation. Soto believes that these miserable worms have become too insolent, so it's time to destroy them. Soon the McLean family was informed that Sylvan was ordering the return of his refugees, payment of compensation, and the granting of Tezron territory to them. In 2 days he expects an answer and hopes to accept his offer. Maybe the other families don't know that the McLean family has become much stronger and has increased its army. Logan believes that it is necessary to capture the territory of the Sylvans as quickly as possible. The more they show their strength, the less such situations will be in the future. There is no need to mobilize soldiers. If you act quickly, the Parita family will be afraid and change their plans. Kai entered the father and son's room. He said that his soldiers were ready to act and were waiting for orders. The soldiers received all the necessary equipment and weapons. There is confidence that no other army will stop them. The crossbowmen became 5 times stronger than before. The level of the father and the knights increased due to the mastery of the sword of iron blood. It is unlikely that they will now lose the battle to these 2 windows, although it is not necessary to provoke them at the same time. After the unification of the lands, the MacLean family will have 5 estates, which will make their territory the same as that of the Margraves. And that's when the first and second princes, who are fighting for the throne, will want to move the MacLean family to their side. You can't attract the attention of these factions now, because Logan wants to make the third prince king. In a past life, the first prince became the king, but he took advantage of the MacLeans and abandoned them. His repression greatly weakened the kingdom. The second prince is no different from the first, so we can only hope for a third prince who is the queen's son. Despite his young age, the king considers him the heir to the crown, due to his outstanding talent, but the prince is unlucky, because the king died. Right now, he's the only one who can avoid the tragedy that happened in his past life. That's why Logan wants to make him king. To do this, you need to win the civil war, stay invisible, and keep enough territories. Kai also reported good news. The young warrior Victor was finally spending his time. He was waiting for a personal meeting with Logan, and now he came to the main estate. The second heir of the family was happy and said that there is nothing to talk about. It is better to show your strength right away. Without long talks, Victor immediately activated his inner energy and demonstrated his talent. The main representatives of the family were amazed and satisfied. This is exactly what they were waiting for. All this happened in just 2 years. Victor's talent is the same as in his past life. Now Logan is ready to give him his slave certificate, because he won't need it anymore. Because now Victor has become a knight. It should be noted that promotion to the rank of knight will be postponed until the end of the war. Logan cannot allow such a situation and allow a person who only wants to be a slave to immediately fight the knights. Obviously, this guy is hungry for battle and wants to see the blood of his enemies, but he will have to wait. An opponent has already been prepared for Victor, and as soon as the time comes, he will be able to get his sword. We must send a reply to Sylvan and say that their behavior was too insolent. This means that there is no point in negotiating anymore. You have to get your swords and fight. The MacLean family's army approached Sylvan Manor and ordered the rivals to prepare for battle. Soon Soto found out that the MacLean family attacked him. He was surprised and even a little scared. The army general said that they are ready to destroy MacLean and will do everything possible to do so. Let the MacLean family have more warriors, but they fight on their territory, so they have an advantage. Killian has already become a high-ranking knight, so now it's not just Patrick MacLean who has superpowers. They can't wait. Even if Pareda's family sends reinforcements, they won't arrive until half a day later. It turned out that Soto is afraid that they will be able to defeat the MacLean family, and then they will be betrayed by Pareda. All this is strange. MacLean declared war and immediately came here, and the Pareda family is still silent. It seems that these miserable worms have united their forces against them. Otherwise, all this would not make sense. In the meantime, Patrick approached the walls of the estate and ordered Soto Sylvan not to be afraid and to accept the battle. Meanwhile, the lord of his family gave orders and ordered to prepare for battle. He was angry with Max Pare and promised to destroy him after he destroyed the MacLean family. Logan knows who Soto Sylvan is. He won't be able to survive such an insult, so soon the fight will begin. All this seems strange to the general, because Logan MacLean has lived in his estate all his life. He cannot know the character of other lords. Soon the gates opened, and the soldiers of the Soto Sylvan family appeared from them. This army is smaller than the MacLean family, but it is still well-trained and prepared. Killian ordered his soldiers to prepare and think only of victory. The knights of the MacLean family heard roughly the same words from their experienced lord. Each army prepared for battle. The MacLean knights were the first to advance. The general of the enemy army is sure that he will win today. They are experienced and talented, and will not give the invaders a chance to win. Soon the MacLean warriors began attacking with crossbows, usually considered an old-fashioned weapon. Seeing this, Killian said that he had overestimated his enemy too much, and now he understood that he was fighting against the Seleucids. Although very quickly it became clear that these crossbows are not ordinary weapons at all, and carry a serious threat. He informed his warriors that this was a magical attack, and they should all stick together. No one had ever seen such powerful crossbows in these territories. One should not underestimate this weapon. The real battle began. The first dead soldiers had already fallen from their horses to the ground. Kai ordered the soldiers to stay in formation and attack at full speed. Killian was already thinking about retreating back to the walls of the estate before his army was destroyed. At this moment, Patrick MacLean turned to these soldiers and said that if they are real men, they should fight with a sword in their hands. With the iron power sword technique, he began to destroy the enemies and scare everyone else. Although the warriors of the Sylvan family began to panic, they did not have time to escape to the estate, so they were forced to fight. It's strange. Just 6 months ago, the Sylvan knights were on the same level as them, but now the difference is extremely large. In addition, some of them went to a new level right in the middle of the battle. Patrick MacLean's training gave an extraordinary result, as well as the weapons that were made on Logan's orders. Thanks to the iron power sword technique, the general overcame the wall he had been stuck behind for a long time and became a high-ranking knight. Right now, the only threat to them is the general of the enemy army. The time has come to deal with him, and thereby take a big step towards victory. Completing the second style of divine sword secrets, Logan had risen almost to the level of a high-ranking knight. The wall that he expected to pass easily turned out to be too high, and he has not been able to overcome it for several months. It was that period of anxiety when he thought he could do it, but he couldn't. This high-ranking knight from another fief had not studied the Sword of Steel Blood, unlike Logan. Now this guy is sure that he will be able to overcome this high wall and reach a new level. The battle has begun. Both knights want to win and add confidence to their army. Killian immediately felt the hardness and power of his opponent. For the first time in many years, he was forced to retreat during a duel. It can be considered that this is an insult to him. He cannot lose to a middle-ranked knight, so he is ready to use his special technique. All his attacks are too predictable, Logan sees them, so he can defend himself. He does not show his fear at all and is ready to achieve victory at any cost. It will not be easy to do because his opponent is really a high-ranking knight who has his own secrets. With the help of speed and flexibility, Logan was able to injure his opponent. Although Killian had seen the moment of the attack, the red-haired boy's speed reached a new level during the fight. The time has come to end this confrontation. It cannot last forever. It was really very impressive. The morale of the soldiers immediately rose to the maximum. The enemies began to panic. Of course you can understand them. The panic is obvious when you see the first style of divine sword secrets. When such a force approaches you, no defense can help. Total destruction awaits any opponent, even an extremely strong one. The warriors of the Sylvan family were shocked and disturbed by what they saw. Now everyone around understood that Logan is no longer a young boy. He is a real man with leadership skills. Soon his father was also able to achieve a local victory and capture Soto Sylvan. They reported this to the entire army and said that those soldiers who admit defeat and lay down their weapons will remain alive. The rival army was destroyed. There were almost no casualties among the warriors of the McLean family. The battle, which began at lunchtime, was ended only a few hours later with a clear victory for the McLean family. This victory will provoke a great war, because rumors of this battle spread very quickly. The Lord of the Southwest had already found out about this. He had already started thinking about the next step. Meanwhile, Soto Sylvan must atone for his sins, take some money, and leave the land with his family. Although he has a completely different opinion, he believes that the state will not tolerate such power grabs. It is not democratic. He believes that the Lord of the Southwest, Count Befros, will not allow such behavior on his land. It was impossible to say anything more terrible about Patrick McLean. At that time, the fall of the McLean house was due to the inept leadership of the Count. Befros used to be one of the McLean vassals, but then started a rebellion to profit from the chaos. The large, rich lands of McLean became the property of the Befros, and this made him the ruler of this region. Thanks to the intervention of the state, Befros did not force McLean to serve himself, but the mere memory of him is enough to make Patrick angry. Soto Sylvan very quickly realized that he had said the wrong words that he should have said. He tried to apologize, but it was already too late. You have to keep your mouth shut. Logan hopes that this situation will not lead to a war with Bifrost, because such an enemy will be too difficult to fight. Several weeks passed after these events, and Lord McLean was with his son at Sylvan Manor. So far there are no messages from Max Perret's family. It is not known what these people are up to. McLean were only able to defeat their opponents with brute force. They were underestimated. With only one trump card up their sleeve, they wanted to stay out of reach in the Tezron. But there was one problem. It will not be possible to defend 3 estates from invaders at the same time, so everything must be reorganized. Logan proposed to move the center of their possessions. If you build a city in the center, it will be easier to manage the estates. It's a good idea. They already managed to destroy the forest with monsters, so they can use this area. Patrick McLean also admitted that this is a wise decision, and he is ready to agree to it. Now it would be a good idea to force the warriors who served the Soto family to go over to the McLean side. It would be an ideal solution to get skilled warriors right away instead of training children. In any case, there is no need to relax because of an easy victory. It was at this moment that the messenger announced that a message had arrived from Lord Befros. This lord said that he feels discomfort because of the wars that McLean arranges. He does not like that this is happening on his lands. He ordered an immediate stop to the conflict between Max Peretta and Patrick McLean. Of course, Patrick believes that Befros has no conscience, because in this situation the McLean family is not at all to blame. Roger Befros is ready to invite everyone to his birthday party in a month to discuss this whole conflict. The reaction of the lord of the McLean family was expected. He had never heard such delusions in his life. He said that the McLean family does not serve anyone and is not going to follow anyone's orders. Logan decided to take a step forward and said that this offer is really interesting. It would be good to take this step. The father respects his son's opinion, but he is not going to allow his family to bow down to these fools. Logan tried to explain that they wouldn't do it now, but they wouldn't be able to beat Bifrost. They're doing fine now, but they're crossing a line, and Roger has started watching them closely. If you don't start acting wisely and stay close to the Lord, the situation can end very badly. The McLean family needs time to lure the Sylvan Knights, as well as to force the Pare to serve them, and of course to reorganize the army. The Southwest is different from other regions of the kingdom. Befros cannot rely on the loyalty of other aristocrats. If Roger tries to exercise his right as a lord, the other rulers will turn their backs on him. The reason is hard to explain, but it is true. Logan explained that times have changed now and father has outdated information. When he was in the capital, he personally heard how some aristocrats swore allegiance to the Befros family. To be more precise, Logan knows this from his past life, but it doesn't matter now. Soon the permission was received. Logan is satisfied that everything is going according to his plan. He assured his father that everything would be fine and calm. He would go to this meeting and see how the lands of their ancestors had changed. Very quickly the boy gathered himself and prepared to go on the road. A dwarf hamster approached him. He began to worry about his master and thought that he had been sold to the enemy. It seems that they are close enough to care about each other, and maybe the dwarf is just thinking about his future freedom. He wanted Logan to finally free him from slavery, but he would rather not say that. Finally, the dwarf said that he had a gift, and assured that this gift was of very high quality. This sword is made of pure mithril, and is now completely owned by Logan. Soon, people began to gather near the Befros castle. Everyone knew that an important meeting would take place there. Flan Pareda, heir to the Pareda family, a rather young guy with fair hair, also approached here. He looked out the window and saw that the young heir of the McLean family was also already there. It's hard to believe that the McLean family was really able to capture the territory of Sylvan, and now he walks calmly even without protection. Perhaps his house suffered great losses in the war, so now there is no one to defend it. If Bifrost intervened in this situation, Pareda could take advantage of this and grab the McLeans by the hands. The young Flan decided to go outside and personally say hello to Logan. He had already heard that this guy was able to kill 6 knights at once, and immediately saw his weapon. They decided to shake hands, and Flan immediately felt incredible pain. Logan apologized and said he thought it was a test of strength. This is really insolent behavior, but Flan can't do anything in response. He got so angry that he took out his sword. Are we going to see another battle now? Although Pareda is as angry as possible, but Logan remains calm, he knows that duels are prohibited on the territory of Bifrost. Logan is surprised that the heir of the Pareda family does not know his place, and this angered the rival even more. He ordered his men to immediately attack this snot and destroy him. You will have to show these guys who is in charge here, because they only understand the language of force. When Flan saw what had happened, he was even speechless for a while. He really underestimated his opponent. It seems that this young guy is even better than people say about him. Soon, a real legend came to them, and everyone around held their breath. This experienced warrior is called the Knight of Moonlight, Sir French, whom everyone around knows. He is one of the 2 highest-ranking Bifrost knights. Both heirs know him. It is surprising that such an experienced knight was sent to meet 2 young boys. Flan immediately began to compliment this knight and tell how much he respected him. So far, the Frenchman did not pay much attention to him. On the contrary, he approached Logan in the shelter. He probably wants to put pressure on this guy and show him who's in charge, but he won't succeed. Franz understood why there are so many rumors about this guy. It is not surprising that at such a young age he is already in the middle rank. When Fran heard that Logan was in the middle rank, he was shocked. All this time he thought this guy was only strong with his mithril sword, but now he saw the whole picture. After receiving a high rank, knights have a unique energy that cannot be hidden. It can only be seen by a knight of the same rank or higher. Since Logan has reached a high rank and earned 3 stars for the power core, he can control this energy. It's best to show just enough power while he's here to keep their attention down, which is why Logan didn't bring bodyguards with him. He thanked you for the kind words. You said that he trains a lot to be like a Frenchman. Soon they entered inside. Lord Befros has been waiting for them for a long time. The heirs of the other families are already in place. Now they can all rest a bit and prepare for the celebration that will take place tomorrow evening. Fran continued to try to insult McLean. He said that someone who walks without a guard hardly has a costume for the holiday. He can give Logan his pajamas, because they are still better than the suit the boy is wearing now. My McLean's heir decided to ignore him and go on vacation. He realized a long time ago that this young man is not his rival at all. If the family has such an heir, then it will be easy to capture them. For now, Logan is not going to take off his armor here, because he understands that anything can happen. In this area are the lands that his past generations lost, so you can't lose your concentration. Logan soon met with the Lord for this conversation he had been waiting for a long time. The Lord ordered him to remove his sword. I wonder if Logan will listen to this man's orders. To begin with, he decided to say that it was a great honor for him to meet the owner of these lands, Count Roger Befros. Everyone around mocked him because he was still in armor like a real peasant. Lord Roger is a potential enemy. They may have to fight. So a few days before the meeting, Logan looked around the area. He expected the humans to be disaffected, just like the Sylvan and Thezran, but they turned out to be quite friendly. Probably the Lord is so wealthy that he doesn't even need to take money from the people, so taxes are low. If Logan came to this meeting, it is a hint that the McLean family is ready to obey the Lord's orders. Logan is preparing to confirm his family is ready for this if there will be peace and prosperity in the southwestern lands. Roger has a fifth circle, so he is not an ordinary lord at all. He has the powerful strength and energy of a sorcerer. In a past life, there were many rumors that Count Bifrost demonstrated incredible strength during battle. He was on the side of the second prince who lost, so the Loga didn't pay him any attention. The fifth circle in strength is equal to the level of an advanced rank. In addition, this lord has 2 very strong knights. The count decided to say a few words and asked for attention. To begin with, he thanked everyone who came to his birthday. He also said words of thanks to the second prince for giving him the tears of the sun. Everyone around knew that these two were very close to each other, but they did not expect that their friendship was so strong. For a long time, the aristocrats of the Southwest were separated from other territories. He believes that the time has come to leave behind stupid traditions and customs and finally join forces. Roger is sure that the second prince will become king and will want to support this region. He also informed everyone that the McLean family conflict would be officially resolved. Logan is a talented guy. Thanks to him, his family won 2 important victories. Why the genius is only 21 years old, and he is already a middle-ranking knight, and this already deserves special attention. Count Walterman, grandfather of the second prince, is looking for such talented people, and Roger is ready to give him a recommendation. Logan was very surprised. He said that this is a great honor for him, but he already has a teacher. He is training with a very important person, so he has to refuse the offer. Roger isn't ready to accept it. The heat sword will be coming at them personally soon, so Logan can get some practice with it. This offer is not only for him. He is willing to do this training for all the heirs. Logan understands that all this is just manipulation for the purpose of subjugation, but he decided to agree and said that he will wait for this training. This could be the first step towards uniting the southwestern lands, as Percival and Ruffman have already agreed to join forces. As a sign of gratitude, the Lord wants to present these heirs with important artifacts. These are very expensive gifts, a magical tool that holds extraordinary power that almost constantly grants magical properties. Created by wizards from the Warlock department, these artifacts are versatile and have a bunch of different strengths. Because of this, artifacts are divided into classes, based on the magic that imbues them. Now it is clear that this person has a lot of money, because such gifts are extremely expensive. Soon Percival and Ruffman swore their allegiance to him. They were happy and received gifts after their vows. All this was like a performance. Roger tried to show that he is very generous towards the people who work with him. After that, Roger began to look at Logan, because it seems that his sword looks better than these gifts. Flan drank a lot of alcohol and began to focus on it. He wants to organize problems for Logan at any cost. The sword that was made by the Hamar dwarf is called Lux, which means twilight in the ancient language. Its power can be compared to a large artifact. The master created it personally for Logan. Such an item is filled with soul. It is not very difficult to get a good item from a dwarf, but greedy aristocrats do not understand this. In the worst case, if his plan did not work, then Logan could use the sword to negotiate, or to buy time. I had to tell everyone about where he got this sword from and who made this weapon. Roger was surprised that this sword was made by a dwarf and wanted to see it for himself. Logan has already started to think that he will not get his sword back. He said that in his family, it is considered a wrong act. It would be nice to compare Logan with the other people who got the artifacts because they are also mid-rank knights. If Ramon Percival wins the duel, the player wants to take the sword for himself. If Logan can win this battle, he will receive an additional artifact as a gift. After a short pause, Logan replied that he agreed to these conditions and was ready to demonstrate all his talents. He took out his sword, and with all his appearance showed that he was confident in his own strength. Both sides readied their weapons and focused on the upcoming battle. Since Ramon is older, he allows his young opponent to strike first. Logan does not accept this offer. He does not want to hear later that he had an advantage. The recognition of genius added to Logan's arrogance, so Ramon wants to show him that there are clouds even above the sky. Everyone around was anxious and looking forward to the battle. Mostly everyone thinks Ramon is the favorite. Roger gave him the artifact on purpose. He wants to help this guy win the battle. Compared to this sword, the light from the Lux is quite modest, but this sword is perfectly balanced, sharp, and strong. A sword is needed for its direct purpose, not to be considered a beautiful toy. The battle began, and Logan was immediately forced to defend himself from dangerous attacks. He is ready to take a few steps back, and even allow himself to be scratched in order not to show all his power. Only then does he want, allegedly unintentionally, to hit back hard. The guy wants to show only a small part of his power, in order not to reveal all his cards. After the victory, he said that he was just lucky, but of course all this is just a show for the audience. You need to boost your core metabolism to make yourself sweat and look more convincing. Ramon is sure that all this is just a coincidence. He said that he is not used to his new weapon. Roger was upset about his performance. He can't believe that this guy lost because of his gift. We'll have to keep his word and travel Logan McLean any artifact he wants to get. Soon, the Lord's assistant informed him that the Duke wanted to talk to him with a sword because of his birthday. Felix personally decided to call to congratulate an important person in the kingdom on this holiday. He apologized for not coming in person. Felix is sure that all those who came to the holiday enjoy this process. During the conversation, the Duke noticed a young man in armor. He recognized him. Logan greeted his mentor and said that they had not seen each other for a long time, so now everyone understood who his teacher was. No one could believe that such a legendary figure trains an ordinary heir of a small family. Now it is clear why he refused to learn from the Count, because he is being trained by a living legend. Felix immediately invited the student to come to the capital in order to organize a banquet for him. Logan said that Count Roger made him an offer he couldn't refuse, although now Roger is ready to refuse it personally. Logan did the right thing by asking the Duke for help. It was all planned in advance. He takes a neutral side and has not chosen any of the princes, although he has great power over the royal family. Even a count cannot refuse to follow the orders of such a man. It was noticeable that Roger was unhappy. He underestimated this red-haired boy. The next day, Logan got the opportunity to choose any artifact as a gift. He saw many very interesting things, such as armor enhanced by fire and electricity magic. Although all the power is in a completely different place, Logan feels it perfectly. He saw a strange shoe. It felt magic, although it seemed that it was not an artifact at all. They continue to absorb his power, and this is very unusual. It feels like this shoe wants to fight Logan, and it's much stronger than this guy. Soon he began to guess about the special properties of this artifact. He became interested in shoes. Soon the boy left. He took a special artifact with him and said goodbye to the Count. Roger cannot forgive this behavior. He ordered his men to catch up with Logan and take the artifacts along with his sword. You can do anything with this guy. The main thing is to keep him alive. Meanwhile, Logan stopped for a night's rest. Let's remind you that he is completely unguarded. Soon he felt the approach of unknown people with the intention to kill. The boy guessed what was happening. He saw the intruders who were armed and ready to attack him without any hesitation. All people want to hide their identity, and that is why they hide their faces. They know what they have to do, and I remember that Logan has to stay alive. The guy is ready for any plot twists. That's why he trains all the time. His new mithril sword is ready to withstand any load. During all these months of training, he has become much faster, and it shows immediately during the battle. Also, don't forget that he made the right choice when he took the shoes from the artifact room with him. When these shoes released the power that was inside, it seemed like an accident, but a little later it became clear that it was not quite so. They give reaction speed, and many different speed characteristics to their master. Moreover, they independently correct their shortcomings and adjust the size. This is an artifact of at least the 4th class. Soon, Logan felt that a silver sword of power was next to him. It will not be easy for him, because this is an opponent of an extremely high level. The boy was angry. The title of Knight of the Moonlight was earned by dishonest means. In front of him is Sir French. Not only did Logan hide his true power and incredible artifact, this knight did the same. Now he decided to reveal his identity. There was no point in hiding the obvious. Franz wants to take all these artifacts as payment for the lesson. This lesson can be brutal. He is ready to show the boy that his talent is nothing compared to the Moonlight Sword. Logan perfectly understands that in front of him is a real master of the sword, but he has nowhere to retreat. He will have to accept the battle. Other criminals were shocked to see what was happening. This guy is not afraid and fights his opponent on equal footing. Franz is surprised. He doubts that this is possible only with the help of artifacts. Probably with this trick Logan learned the sword from the Duke. Logan replied that he learned much more, and if he gets the opportunity, he will use it 100%. He tried to concentrate all his strength on internal energy in order to show everything he was capable of. Franz is not going to calmly wait for his death. On the contrary, he is the one who takes the lives of others. There was a very loud explosion, as if 2 comets had collided. Sir Franz was sure that after such an attack, no one would remain alive and unharmed. That is why he was extremely surprised to see that Logan was still standing. This is called the 3rd form of Divine Sword Secrets. Now is the time when the Moonlight Knight must feel this incredible power on his own body. There was an even louder explosion than before. Everything around was covered in fire. The warriors were frightened and began to search for their leader and try to save him. He was very badly wounded, although he said he managed to dodge at the last moment. You don't expect such attacks from an ordinary young guy of middle rank. Logan decided to take the opportunity and run away immediately. There is no point in continuing this battle. When the French attacked him, he saw a hole the size of a coin in the right side of his chest. He also noticed the agitated facial expressions and lots of talking. all of which were just distractions. Now Logan is sure that with all the artifacts, he is ready to defeat a high-ranking knight. But one should not forget that he was also seriously injured. Soon, despite all the difficulties and problems, Logan reached his home. He assured that everything is fine with him, and he only slightly damaged his armor. The return of the eldest heir made a lot of noise in the McLean family. He looked too beat up and no one liked it. Of course, this was not enough to officially accuse Bifrost, so the incident had to be forgotten. Logan assured his father that soon they will pay for all their actions, but for this, they need to reorganize their forces. If everything is done correctly, the McLean family will soon become even more powerful. The younger heir of the family did not forget about training. Like his older brother, he trained both day and night. He remembered his older brother's words that the war would end soon, and during that time the Ronin should make progress. He does not want to be treated like an ordinary child. His brother was insulted in the Bifrost family, and for this he must take revenge. Soon they met, and Logan introduced him to Victor. Now they will train together. They are the same age, and Victor has also awakened his power, so they can motivate each other. Looks like these two want to spar right now. The result might be too rough. Logan ordered the battle to begin. As soon as Victor heard it, he immediately began counting in his usual manner. He activated the Iron Blood Sword skill. It was as if he had awakened many years ago. Ronin is not going to constantly defend himself. He wants to respond and show his skills. Although these two are very young, they already show extraordinary skills during battle. Ronin looked at his opponent and called him a real monster. There was some truth in those words. Logan calmly watched the battle of the younger generation. He likes what he sees. Victor not only mastered the Iron Blood Sword perfectly, but also learned how to use it in his own style. A Ronin, already much stronger than an average knight, even despite his limitations in swordsmanship. He moves freely and calmly, so the two complement each other perfectly. A little later, Logan went to the sorcerer Clayton to talk about Rhea. He said that this girl saw mana, which means that she can become a sorcerer. Earlier, Logan told her that she should try to study different areas in order to understand what her strong point is. Then she looked indecisive. Logan wanted to cheer her up. He had his suspicions when they first met, but he didn't think she actually saw other people's mana. Clayton approached her and directed his mana in her direction. The girl must say where this energy is directed. Soon she pointed her finger at the master's student, and she was not mistaken at all. Clayton was very excited. Not even all the best wizards can see mana. This is a unique skill. There will be a lot of noise if everyone finds out that Logan can see it too. He wants to make sure that the girl really wants to study magic. Rhea replied that if it will help her in life, then she agrees, especially if she can make beautiful dolls. That's a pretty good goal for a little girl. At least Logan is happy. They agreed that Clayton will start training this girl. She has the talent to become an outstanding wizard, so both twins are geniuses. Now there are even more questions about their parents. It will be interesting to unravel this mystery in the future. Every day, the McLean family becomes stronger. The knights undergo training and become real professionals in their field. The new generals really want to become close to Logan. They are ready to follow any orders for this. Of course, they are surprised when he asks to bring some wood to start a fire, but it is better than nothing. They also started talking about the fact that Logan is constantly walking without security. This is too wrong. Logan's journey has two goals. First, to identify potential changes in the future, and then to meet the third prince. The current ruler of the estate had no heirs until the age of 40, so he summoned 2 women from the duchy, who bore him 2 sons. 10 years passed after these events, and the queen gave birth to her third son when she was 40 years old. The third son has an innate talent for swordsmanship and good manners. He became better than his brothers, and got prospects of becoming a king. The king also believed in this boy, but the families of the 2 princes did their best to stop the third prince's influence from expanding. Next, Logan talks about the events that were supposed to happen in the future. Before the third prince becomes an adult, a civil war will break out and the king will die. The first prince, Juan Douglas, will receive the support of his grandfather, as will the second prince, Jordan Walterman. Since the third prince has no political power in any faction, he is almost executed. The boy will be very lucky that the duke will intervene for him and force the others to leave the prince alive. The most prominent of the aristocrats, who takes a neutral position, saved the life of the third prince. After that, the first principal will gain the upper hand, but after 5 years it will lead the country to chaos until the empire attacks. That king will use the Ronin as bait in the war with the empire, so Logan won't let him become king. The second prince is almost the same, so Logan must see with his own eyes if the third prince is capable of becoming a normal king. Together with his men, he decided to go to the Duke of the Sword. Rick still hasn't found a wife. Maybe this time things will change. He believes that he will do Logan a great favor if he establishes a family connection with the Duke's family. The heir of the family did not like such conversations, so he had to teach the servant. Logan has been invited to meet the Duke. Everyone else must follow Sir Ermin. At first, Logan was not sure that he really saw this man in front of him. but then he found out that it was really Louis Hayen, the commander of the Guarantee Liberation Front. Unlike Logan, who always dreamed of revenge, this man had his own ideals. Logan clearly remembers their last meeting, when Louis asked for help, and Logan agreed to it. He followed the order, even though it cost him his own life. Quite a price to pay for helping. Now it's even hard to remember. But it's better to keep yourself in your hands and not show unnecessary emotions. They greeted each other and talked a little. Louis said that one should take care of one's health while one is still young. In the past life, he also constantly talked about it. It is probably his favorite topic. Soon it was time to meet the Duke. His wife is also with him today. They greeted their guest and invited him to sit down. It was immediately obvious that they were glad to see him. Roman was very surprised when he was told that their future child would be named in his honor. They discussed it for a long time. It all worked out thanks to him. So it will be correct to call the child Logan. The name defines and illuminates the path that the child will take in the future. Residents of Grandiosity believed in this since ancient times. Aristocrats looked for respectable people to name their child in their honor. They even held parties to celebrate their children's names. And now the Duke has also found the right name for his future son. Logan replied that there was no problem with that and made the Duke's family very happy. After the wife left, it was time to talk about men's affairs. The Duke is surprised at the rapid progress of this young heir to the McLean family. The time has come to see what he is capable of in the conditions of a real battle, whether he has become better since the past. Logan immediately decided to show that he had been constantly training and achieved significant improvements in his characteristics. Since this is a fight with a master, the Duke can show the maximum of his abilities. This is their first training since they became a student and a teacher, and the tension is palpable. Logan does not want to appear too weak. On the contrary, he wants to impress his mentor. His attacks have become much more powerful than before. Although it should be admitted that all this is just children's toys, compared to a real legend named Felix. This Duke did not just become a swordsman. For this he trained thousands of hours in a row, and did not forget his skills even after many years. The Duke ordered the boy to show his best and never again upset him with such performances. These words were enough to add maximum motivation. Logan tried to attack as aggressively as possible, but his opponent felt his every next step. This battle continued for many hours in a row, but the result was always the same. Logan's strength has increased since their last meeting, but the skill has not changed at all. The fundamental indicators have become lower. For good swordsmanship, it is not enough to put all your strength into one movement. The fundamental indicators should be the basis for strengthening yourself. Even if you advance to a new level through luck or talent, it will only increase the height of the next rung. Logan easily gained the power because he went back in time and retained the memories of his past experiences. He spent all his time on the secrets of the divine sword, but now he understands that the action is foolish. Back in the past, he misjudged himself as everything went according to his plan, but now he realized his mistakes. Logan asked to be given another chance to correct the fundamentals, surprisingly because the result was the same. He will have to rest for a while because the concussion is a serious problem. You learn the technique of the sword through your whole body. Only through constant training you can make progress. Herzog likes the determination of this boy. He is sure that sooner or later Logan will achieve great success. A week later they met again, by which time Logan was already looking much better. Duke Felix found out that his student did not have a girlfriend in his adulthood and said that it was a shame. Felix wants to find a match for this young guy, although Logan would like to concentrate on training. Herzog explained that a good heart needs to be properly trained. He understood this only after meeting his wife. Logan still doesn't understand anything. The war will start in a few months. He has no time for women. In any case, he cannot ignore his teacher, so he will have to meet the woman he chooses for him. Soon this long-awaited meeting finally happened. It was already in a few days. This is how young Logan McLean met Eileen Floyd, and it was immediately clear that they were perfect for each other. This girl is too beautiful for such a guy. At least that's what Logan himself thinks. He was very surprised to see that his potential bride was also an aura user. She is at the maximum of low rank, and has almost reached the middle level, and all this at only 18 years old. Floyd is a famous surname, a talent of the grandiose kingdom, who died after 3 years of war. She always stood out against the background of others, protected the inner estate and destroyed a huge number of warriors, Eileen Floyd, or the steel flower of the Sura. This meeting turned out to be really unexpected. It would be nice to get such a bride before the start of the war. The problem is that Logan has never heard of aristocrats getting married a few months after meeting. He looked at this beautiful girl and tried to understand what exactly he should do. It seemed to her that he was unhappy, as if he had been forced to come here. She has similar feelings and would not want to waste her time. The girl immediately approached Logan and offered him to spend some time together and with benefit.